Well, good morning and welcome to our January 31st, 2026 School Board Retreat on this cold, frosty, frigid Saturday morning. Welcome. And first up is breakfast, and breakfast was certainly really, really good. Thank you, Ms. Barnes, for facilitating that with our chef. That was quite some breakfast, and we'll return to that throughout our retreat. Our opening, and we will do a light prayer here in a few minutes, but I just want us to pay attention to the statement that is right below the opening prayer. It states that we're gathered not to control outcomes, but to steward what has been entrusted to us. I like that statement. That's a great statement, because what has entrusted to all of us, the state has entrusted the school board as a branch of the state, and the community has entrusted the school board. School board has entrusted the superintendent, as we have hired the superintendent to carry out the board's goals, board vision, board mission. The superintendent has entrusted his cabinet and administrators to carry out the vision that he or she has received from the board for the district. Administrators have entrusted the teachers to carry out the superintendent's per board governing wishes to the district. Teachers have entrusted the students and the parents to come alongside of all of us to carry out the mission of the district. So I like that we cannot control the outcomes, but we're to steward what's been entrusted to all of us. And so, and as you do see, right there at the top of all of that is the state, and then the branch of the state is the school elected board itself. And so what a great statement. If all of us would adhere to that continuously, then I think we would make for what Psalm 133 says, verse 1, how good and how pleasant it is. And I like to put an amendment on that. The scripture says for brethren to dwell together in unity, but I like to put an amendment to that and say for board and district and superintendent and teachers and parents to dwell together in unity, how pleasant it is. And so we're grateful, we're thankful, and as we look at goals and performances, board goals today, I would hope that somewhere is an unspoken mission that winds up as a board goal itself, and that is the unity of our district, board, administration, and families and communities. With that said, we will offer a time of prayer to the good Lord for our blessings today. And Father, we pray thy guide upon us now as we seek to do the business of the community, the district, and the school. May you guide us, may you give wisdom that we do not see or have. We entrust you to guide us. We pray in your name. Amen. Well, we're going to now give away for an icebreaker, Mrs. Barnes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For our icebreaker, it's something that's written, so if you want to use your notebook, or if you maybe want to use the white space at the bottom of our agenda, that's a good spot to jot this down. You're just writing one sentence. So in one sentence, what keeps you committed to this work, even when it's hard? And really what you're articulating is why I stay. Why do you stay? So again, the question that you're answering is what keeps you committed to this work, even when it's hard? And we only need one sentence. Please know that we are going to share these out loud. So I don't want you to feel compelled to write anything incredibly private. But it's just one sentence.
Can you repeat that again? Why
Absolutely.
I stay? Just tell your volume up just a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. What keeps you committed to this work, even when it's hard? Please answer that in one sentence. I'm going to grab my paper so I can write one too.
Are we just writing it down right now?
Yes, you're just writing your one sentence.
Oh, okay.
And then we'll go around and share them.
Ms. Barnes, I failed to acknowledge Mrs. Wilson. We all know she hasn't been feeling good, but yet she made it today, so we're grateful to see her.
Does anyone need more time to write? Sure. All right. Is there anyone who wants to start? We'll ask for volunteers, and then if not, we'll just go around the circle.
Oh, you volunteering?
I'm not volunteering. I can, but I'm not.
I'll start, because
Thank
it
you.
was simple for me. It says,
Oh, before you start, I'm so sorry. As we're reading, we're not responding. We're not giving any commentary. So this is a safe space for you just to read what you wrote, and then we're gonna move on, and Mr. Anderson's gonna lead us.
why I stay, or what keeps you committed to this work even when it's hard. And mine is just simply simple. My love for family and community is why I stay.
Thank you.
Hold on. my commitment changes with the season. I've noticed that since I've been on the board, but right now, to be a voice for the silent.
Thank you.
My why right now is the commitment to our students, families, and staff that I've made.
Thank you.
As a Christian, I believe Jesus when he identified the two most important commandments, and as a person who grew up in poverty and education was the key to the path out, I want to ensure that Pike students who are my neighbor have the same opportunity that I had, and that our staff who are my neighbors have a positive and respectful work environment in which to provide that opportunity for our students.
Thank you.
I stay because I have a commitment to those that entrusted themselves with believing that I'm going to do what's right by them and by the community.
Thank you.
Development of children.
Thank you. My sentence is, I believe that our community thrives with educated citizens, and I serve to protect public education where we gather in a safe place to learn. Dr. Young?
I shared and wrote that the children and community can be committed to.
Thank you. Next up is Mr. Anderson.
Well, I think we've had as many good mornings that we need to have. So I'll just go ahead and start off with the topic. We're going to talk about the role reminder, our roles as board members versus the roles of the superintendent, the roles of cabinet, and so on and so forth. I want to start off with communication. Not just any type of communication, healthy communication. I think what sometimes happens is that, when we get elected, there's no class that teaches us, about being a board member. That's something before we get elected, that's something that we have to develop through professional development as board members. But we need to talk about communication, because that is key to understanding our roles, and some people may say, how you stay in your lane. And so I'm going to open that up for discussion. We'll go around. But tell me what you think healthy communication means to you. We can start from whatever.
Healthy communication, for me, would be understanding my role, understanding, in this setting, the goals and mission and vision of corporation, and then communicating that in a healthy way. That would be healthy communication for me.
Good. Angela?
I would say it's clearly articulating your needs and what it is that you understand from the other person.
Clearly articulate. Like that. Nicole?
Again, the clear articulation of expectations as well as roles and what it entails, but also using compassion and kindness in that when you're phrasing that. So just be mindful of that your words have power.
Steve?
I would say good communication is honest, truthful, caring, and respectful of all parties involved.
You said truthful and respectful.
So honest too, right?
Honest, yeah.
All right, Tony?
I have to ditto on the honesty. And unbiased and communicating with the thought that someone else is going to be responding to whatever it is that you're communicating.
I like that. Say that one more time. I'm sorry, if you can. I like that. What was that last name?
Responding and communicating in a way that you have to understand that people are going to respond to what you say.
Lord.
I think there's two pieces to this for me.
Okay.
I think the first thing would be being able to communicate and realize your communication is liberation for your thinking and your ideas.
Say liberation.
Liberation.
Okay.
And then the other thing is to avoid personal incarceration by deceiving in conversation and misleading.
Dr. Young.
I wrote down, can you repeat the question one more time?
We're talking about what does healthy communication mean to you?
Okay. What I had down was honest, respectful, and productive, meaning that the intent is achieved.
He said last name, so the intent.
Yeah, so productive, meaning whatever the intent for the communication is achieved.
I will go ahead and add my 2 cents. So healthy communication is a lot of what everyone has said here today. A lot of it, you know. A couple of us said honesty, truthful, respectful, and those are key factors in the foundation of healthy communication. I think, to me, what healthy communication is, to your point, Dr. Young, to show the true intent. Because what happens is, in the lack of healthy communication, and what that means is there's not a lot of it, things are open to self-interpretation. And us being human, that opens the door for emotions to get involved. And then once you have that, you have, you know, the lack of respect that seems like that we have sometimes, because, you know, we feel a certain way about something. And when we try to convey that to the person that we're talking to, it can go off rails. So the biggest thing that I see is the commitment to healthy communication and the repetition of healthy communication, because once you have that over a period of time, it builds trust. A lot of times when things are left open to self-interpretation, you don't have the trust. And then that can turn into, well, we've seen time and time again. I mean, I'll just use us for an example. You know, everyone knows that Dr. Young and I, we've had our spirited conversations. You know, and, but one thing that's always remained to be clear: at the beginning of the year, him and I spoke. We talked about, you know, some of the things that we never really had a chance to talk about that involves healthy communication. Some things were left open to self-interpretation, and that I didn't understand what he was trying to convey, and then vice versa. And so I think a lot of that kind of muddied the waters a little bit, and so that kind of, you know, made things off the rails a little bit. We kind of lost track of some of the things that the board needs to do. But one thing we came to the conclusion was and that there's still a mutual respect. You know, we may disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. And that's why I encourage, when I was president, I'll talk to everyone in here. I always say, hey, you know, speak your truth. I never try to inhibit or try to stop you from saying what you have to say, but speak your truth, but do it respectfully. Because that builds trust. And we need that trust to be able to recognize what that person is doing, even if we can't always communicate all the time. But keep in mind, you know, in that process, the board, we have to be absolute at all costs. You know, even if we don't agree or we disagree, we have to be absolute. So that brings me next to, well, before I move on, does anybody have anything to say about healthy communication? I want to add to that. All right. So I left off with trust. What does trust look like? It's just, if you do it really quick, what does trust look like? We'll start with Dr. Young.
Trust is the belief that, in my opinion, that the action has good intention.
Dr. West?
Trust to me have a lot to do with your word itself. There's a good old adage for that, is that your word ought to be your bond. And so trust to me has everything to do with the integrity of your word.
Angela?
I would say trust is meaning what you say and showing up.
Meaning what you say and showing up. Nicole?
I would say, I guess depending on, because it's a two-way street. You have to trust in order to be trusted, but you also have to earn that trust so that it works both ways.
Both ways. Steve?
Trying not to just repeat what's already been said, that the word should, for me, it's believing that all parties involved authentically in what is being said, what is being done, that it is authentic, that it is on the level. There aren't underlying things that are being hidden, but everything's on the surface. That what you're saying to me, what I'm saying to you, is honest and is what it is. There's not underlying things that I have to try to figure out.
Very good. Like that one. Tony?
Trust to me is unconditional belief. Unconditionally believing that when someone tells you something, it's unconditional. You don't have to worry about the underlying feeling underneath. It is what it is. They show you who they are. So to me, it's unconditional.
Dr. Moore?
Don't give anybody anything you can't trust them with.
Yeah, right.
You know, I'll go on to say, I'm going to piggyback off of healthy communication, because when you have repetitive healthy communication, you build that trust. And what trust looks like to me is that because of the communication piece, if I see something happening but we've had that relationship, we built that relationship that has that trust, I know that what you do, I may not understand it right then in that moment, but I understand that you're doing something that's beneficial for the school, that's in the good benefit of the district. Trust is to me is that, Dr. Young, if you get a call from the principal because I'm walking around the school, and you know, I always say, if I'm going to make an official visit, I'm going to talk to, whoever to make an appointment. But if I'm just staying to say, hey, how's everything going? I usually don't go past the office. And we get a call from the principal, that's how I do because of the communication. Oh, he didn't make an official visit, he's just in to say hi. No big deal. He's not taking any notes or anything like that. If we're in a meeting or we see someone talking with board members, talking to somebody so-and-so, but because we have communication, when we have the trust, it doesn't leave room to me. It doesn't leave room to me for speculation, like, oh, man, something going on over here, or I see an angle right here. So it just also reinforces why we have to have healthy communication, you know, between all of us, and open communication. Sometimes it's gonna be tough, and that's okay. It's truly okay. But it has to be done. You know, when you have an infection, you gotta take medicine. And medicine don't always feel good in the beginning, but the end game is so that we can get better. Lastly, I just want to talk about relationship. And this is going to be a big one, because we can't walk together unless we be in agreement. Can't do it. Not an agreement as we agree on everything, but we agree that we're all here to better the district, to support each other, and to support our administration with what they need. And that's through healthy communication and trust. So this will be the last topic we'll talk about on this one, relationship. How important is relationship to you? And I'll start with you again, Dr. Young. Relationship.
Relationship, so we're thinking in like the context of like boards, superintendents in general. I think, you know, relationship, I think, are important. I think, you know, they're going to look different. For me, right, as a superintendent, you know, a lot of the relationships I have very different in this setting than they are when they get off. That these are for me professional relationships. So when you have 1,600 employees, you know, things being able to work collaboratively, and this ties to the relationship to reach our common goal, has to be something that we're able to do. And I think that brings in trust, right? That brings in respect. All of these things have to be part of that work relationship. I think my difficult challenge, I believe, as superintendent is that's a relationship, but at the same time, I have the charge of, and that's different, a work relationship is different than a relationship out of school, because even though it looks very similar, as superintendent, I'm always looking for opportunities to improve you too, right? So in many ways, it looks like a friendship, but I'm looking for ways to help you grow. And then, you know, the things that as administrators we hate is, you know, we're working alongside, we have a work relationship. In many ways, it looks similar to relationships outside of school, but in the worst cases, you know, I have to even go as far as reprimanding or even terminating too. So in this context, as far as within the school district, you know, the relationships are important, because we have to have trust and respect, and we have to have that mutual goal. But then also, what I can't do is allow myself as superintendent to be at a place where I allow a relationship to now have me treat one employee and different than the other, as far as, you know, things pertaining to non-negotiables, or things pertaining to the safety of our kids and all of those things. So the relationship is very important, but it is a, for me as an administrator, I always have to keep in mind that it's a work relationship, and which is very different than a personal relationship.
You know, let's unpack that. And I don't know if everyone caught it, but we're going to talk about it a little bit. Dr. Young had a lot of Easter eggs in that. And it talks about a lot that what you said piggybacks off of what we've been talking about as far as healthy communication, which builds trust. You know, you clearly articulate the difference between a professional relationship and then a personal relationship. And you talked about how you're able to be able to separate the two, but you keep in mind, from what I gathered indirectly from what you said, on the professional side, you may like a person, you may think that they're great, but you still have to stay absolute. Like when you said, you're going to be looking for ways to improve you. To me, that means the same thing. So just because you may like someone, but you see a way to improve them, That may involve a tough conversation, but because of the healthy communication which builds trust, that person that you're talking to should be able to understand that. And it goes both ways to when you said, Nicole, it's a two-way street. Does that make sense, the one I'm talking about? Okay. Dr. Moore, Dr. Webster.
Repeat that again, your question.
What does, describe what relationship? And I want to open like that so it gives everyone the chance to talk about, because we have a personal side and we have a professional side.
Yeah, and I was listening to our superintendent articulate both, and when you stated that, that's a broad statement in terms of relationship, because again, in this context here with school board, school district, working environment, how do I want to say this without sounding offensive? It doesn't make it, I guess in some cases, it doesn't make a difference if I have or do not have a relationship with you. Let's just say 7 board members. Let's just use the board. Unity is important. Unity is very important. And so where we are unified at, policy making, working together, that's very important. But if Angela or Steve or Miss Tony or Miss Kelly or Dr. Moore don't want to go out and have coffee with me, I'm fine. Or if I don't want to go out and have coffee with them, I'm sure they're fine. That's building relationship. But it's important in the context of we working together as a board to govern the district. And I'll just leave it there.
I hear a reoccurring statement that's being made, doing different interpretations, about working better for the district, which is, I think, is the perfect foundation, the strong foundation that we can build off of, no matter what the relationship looks like. And since I'm in that seat, I'll just go ahead where I got this thought in my head, and we'll go to you, Angela. I'm gonna switch over to a different type of relationship. Dr. Moore, my fellow board member. Now, some of you may know, some of you may not know. Dr. Moore and I have not always agreed on certain things. We've had some spirited conversation ourselves. But I always knew that he may disagree with me and I may disagree with him. The end game was to better the district. And there's not just one road to get there. But we've always had I've always felt that we had a mutual respect, like, hey, you got your opinion, I have my opinion. We may not agree, but we agree to disagree, and we just gotta move on. And that's okay, because it's part of healthy communication. And since him and I have had that within the last couple of years, now certain things that he may say, I have that trust that, like, okay, I know he may say it this way, which is totally his right, everyone else is right, but I know where he's trying to get to. That I can trust. I can trust that.
So that would be, that's what unifies you.
Yes,
So,
that's part of unification.
Yeah.
Very, very much so. Angela.
I believe your question was about relationships.
Yep.
So, in my context is our relationship, the 8 of us. I see it as collegial.
That's what?
that's what now?
Collegial.
Okay.
So,
Big word.
like you've said it before, it doesn't have to be filial. It doesn't have to be that kind of relationship for us to work together. We just need to work together. That's what's important, that we're pleasantly respecting and communicating with each other. We don't have to have coffee, dinner, or any of that thing. We don't have to do that. It's nice if we do, but it's not a requirement for us to work together. We have a colleague, we should be able to have a collegial relationship.
Yeah.
Very good. Nicole.
I guess I would echo what's been said. Again, it goes back to respect. Just respecting, we all have viewpoints, we all have where we're coming from, our understanding, ultimately when we do sit down as the 7, we all know the end game is for the, like, whether we disagree, agree, the betterment of the district, improving our students and taking care of our staff, our community, our families, that's our end game. That's the goal, regardless of whether we had a heated discussion about it or not. We know the end game. So the heart is not what's ever in question.
I like that. And so, you know, you said it, we're all kind of saying the same thing, but just in different versions, almost like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John in the Bible. You know, a lot of it is the same message, but from different perspectives. So I like that. And I just wanted to point out that everyone keeps saying to a certain degree that the end game is to better the district. And the reason why I'm saying that, and I want everyone to keep that in mind, because later on today in the same meeting, we're going to test that theory of healthy communication, you know, which is going to build trust. It may feel like a trial of fire, but keep in mind, the end game is to better the district. Steve.
So, when I think about relationships, one of the things I think, for me, relationships is people, right? With that's who I have a relationship with this table, I have a relationship with people. And one of the big things is understanding the people that you're interacting with, right? We all have different personality types. And I think the relationship ebbs and flows. Let me back up a little bit. We also talk a lot about diversity, right? And diversity is more than, it's a lot, it's everything, right? And so even recognizing those diversities of personality types. I have someone very close to me in my life who is a very type A personality. They can do whatever they need to do, and relationship is sort of secondary to it. I am very not that way. Relationship is really important. Like the better my relationship is with somebody, and it can be having coffee, it can just be that we've built relationship is the foundation for trust. So the more that our relationship has been able to grow, whatever that looks like, that's going to build the things that we talked about earlier. My trust in you, how I figure that you can trust me. We've had some conversations, you know, in our text group where, because we don't know each other, and you know, somebody asked me a question about background, and my first thing is, I'd love to have coffee with you and talk about that if you want to get more information. You know, building those relationships, I think, is important. But whatever that looks like, it's also going to. It has to take into account the personality of the other person also, and respecting that, whether that's something they want to do or not do, if that makes sense. So
it makes no sense.
I just, for me, I think relationships are extremely important, but it has to be in the confines that again, I can't put my personality type on somebody else and expect a relationship to look that way. I need to also respect the diversity of their personality type, how they want to handle things, and then be willing to mold and adjust to do what is necessary to make that relationship work for what it is supposed to be. I hope that makes sense.
It makes sense. Again, the theme keeps going, healthy communication. And this is, we don't have many of these type of communications. We don't have these conversations a lot.
Yeah.
But what it's doing is, it's building, we're repetitive, we're building that trust.
Yeah.
Tony.
Well, for me, our relationship is based on my level of comfortability, how comfortable I am with you. And if I'm comfortable with you, that means I have to have a level of trust with you. If I have a level of trust with you, then I can build my relationship. But if I'm not comfortable, I can't give you my trust because I'm not looking for your trust. So in order to do that, I think they go hand in hand. You have to have a level of comfort. Being comfortable in order to trust, in order to have a relationship.
Fair enough. I agree with that. Fair enough. Dr. Moore.
I think when we look at this setting, we're mandated to be in this setting because of elections and those type of things. We're mandated. We took on a public servant role to be mandated for this particular situation. But the other relationship that you're talking about, that's by choice. It's by choice. You have to make the choices who you will allow to be in your life and relationship. And because people can run off the farm, if you know what I mean by that. You know, so you got to make those choices to allow people to pour into you as a person and you to pour into them. And that's why the choice of relationship from a personal standpoint is very important. So I like the illustration. I don't have to have coffee with nobody except in here.
No, very good. And like I said, because I've had conversations with everyone, I'm gonna end the conversation with this. Because I've had conversations with everyone, you know, and some of you haven't, but because I have, I've had a level of comfortability, which, you know, gives me a level of trust. So when you say certain things, you know, I get it because I've had a lot of conversations with everyone. And so that's the point where I think that the board as a whole needs to move forward. So as I close, I'm just gonna walk around and give everybody a fist bump because, you know, that's part of, that was a very good, healthy conversation.
Absolutely.
And what it's going to do is, it's going to start us on the path of building the trust, the relationship. It also gives us the choice. It's a choice. You know, it gives us the choice to do, to commit where we want.
Well, we may not have coffee, but.
We may not have coffee. You know, but somebody want to take me out for a steak.
I'm sorry. Now, we may have a steak. Are you bringing up Dr. Young?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. So next we have district data led by District Goals, Dr. Young.
Thank you, man. Good job.
Dr. Young, if you, just for 1 second, before he starts, just a reminder that after Dr. Young presents, we're gonna have some time for reflection on what he's showing us today. So if I could draw your attention to the written reflection that follows, just so you know kind of what are you listening for and some things to think about. It's what do our students need the most from us this year based on what Dr. Young is gonna share with us, and what's one outcome that the board should monitor closely based on what he's gonna present to us. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you, Mrs. Barnes, and also thank you, Mr. Anderson, and as well, Dr. Webster. So on the agenda, district data that led to the district goals. So as we think about the 25-26 district goals, the focus up to this point during my time as superintendent has been on growth. So when we think about growth, the metrics we've used, and this was sort of the template, the areas of focus were developed actually with the board when I came on. I guess it was going to my second year, and we sort of developed goals together. And matter of fact, I can actually hand out, you can kind of see two things. I'm going to share with you a copy of our current district goals, 25-26, but I also want to kind of talk about what the original goals that I kind of present to the board. Now, these goals were not approved, but you can I'll kind of tell the story of how we got to where we are now, at least in our format. Okay, so this is there's one of each of those. Oh.
Yeah, I think I got it. This is good.
Yeah. Did you get these things? No.
No, I didn't get
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think she just handed us the one set. It's only that. Thank you. All right, and I just passed out sort of that original, and again, that was not where we landed. Where we landed is very similar to the format
that we have for the 25-26 school year. So I'll kind of explain that. So with the focus on growth, and we have the metrics at the high school, and again, going back to where we originally landed this format, it was really important in conversation with the board that there were some metrics of growth, student achievement at every single level, elementary, middle, and high school. So that first at the top for 25-26, the SAT. So the SAT now being sort of a state metric where it hasn't always been, but now we have our 11th grade students that take every single year. It does provide an opportunity for us to measure growth from year to year. We can also measure growth from the fall test versus the final, the PSAT versus the SAT. So that's the growth model that we have. State tests that everyone takes, where we can do comparisons between us and other school districts and so forth, and measure growth, whether it's apples, where we look at PSAT versus the SAT, or from year to year, when we have a different group of students that are entering the 11th grade and take that test. So that's the SAT and the high school growth metric. The baseline is based on where we ended up last year. Okay, as we think about growth from a percent of mastery. Then at the elementary level, we actually have two. So we have I read and we have I learn. So you all know that the I read assessment is, it used to be, or originally was a 3rd grade assessment. Now it's given at the 2nd grade as well as the 3rd grade. Students that pass it in 2nd grade do not have to take the assessment in 3rd grade. You also know that now there's a mandate if students don't pass it by the end of summer school in 3rd grade, then students will have to be retained, okay? So I read one, and then the second one we have at the elementary level is I learn. I learn is also the percent. I learn is also the metric that all of our state assessment that we also can utilize and can show growth from year to year. At the middle school level was the one we have there. And then obviously graduation rate. Graduation is the culmination of everything we do from pre-K all the way through when our students leave us. Now, if you look at the 22-23, one of the things that you'll see are one, those growth metrics on standardized tests, but then you also see some things that were actually part of the roadmap forward. You guys have heard me talk about the roadmap forward. Was something that was an assessment done during my time as interim superintendent, just based on needs that we saw in the district. So that first one, I really believe coming out of the pandemic that we needed some mentoring, and we needed a mentoring program for men and also for our young ladies as well. A model or format in which we could hear from our community every year, whether staff, students, families, on really the work that we were doing, and that process where we could have that data, which would really inform how we operate for the upcoming school year. Middle school status meetings, deploying those at the high school was something that we did very quickly, but it was also something that I thought we need to have at the middle school level. And then at the time, obviously, looking at the need to update our website. Now, those are not necessarily performance metrics. They're measurable, but they're measurable from the standpoint of you get it done or you don't get it done. And But ultimately, we landed on, you know, that was too many. So the goal, in my charge was to shrink it down to, I believe, about 4 or 5. So that's where we just struck it down to the 5 that we currently have this year. And so every year, it's just been based on overall growth on those state standardized tests. Yes.
So the baseline data, say for the very first one, the 13, I'm looking at 25, 26. So the overall increase in 11th grade students, is that number representing the pass rate right now? What is that 13%?
Yeah, overall, just real quick, overall increase in 11th grade students reaching all SAT benchmarks from spring 2025 to spring 2026. So what we have there, so with the goal being overall increase, that 13% represents where we were this previous year.
Spring 2025?
Yeah, so we want to increase that for this school year. So that is 2025, yes.
And Dr. Young, did you say, I didn't quite hear you, that the overall goals were based on these scores here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the baseline would be where we ended for the 24-25 school year, would be the baseline, with the overall focus being on overall growth.
Okay.
And, yes.
Go ahead, Nicole. You're on, please.
I do, so understanding now what that 13% kind of means. So you're saying overall, do we have, you said overall, is there a percent that we're trying to hit? Like a specific, in our goal, I feel like we need to be specific and say, we're
Yeah.
looking for this much growth.
Yeah, so great question. So obviously we have the reading, writing side, portion, language arts, and then we have the math for the first one, SAT. And then what we have done is sort of combine all of those together in an overall battery of students being proficient from the state standpoint in those particular areas. So that's the way we've done. Now, to your point, yes, we can dig down, which actually I would welcome that. But I think what that requires, what you guys are allowing now, which I love and appreciate.
Requires what, say that again?
What you have brought up is really digging down in the data. And I would love, and I'm glad we're having this conversation now, to really moving forward, set goals that are really more specific in the need, because you can really break down this data. You can look at different subgroups, and you have some areas that are performing in groups.
I mean, we can say overall, but we
Yeah.
could say students taking SAT spring 2026
Sure.
will increase math and
Yeah.
language arts scores
Mhm.
by X%.
Yeah.
I think we can still keep it in overall, but include both
Yes.
sides of it. But I think we need to have a target of what we're, to just say overall, well, that could mean anything.
Absolutely.
And then looking at what's the state saying they want us to be at? And then let's set our goal
Mhm.
higher than that, of course. We don't want to just say, oh, we want to meet status quo, but let's shoot for, if the state says
Mhm.
10% increase, well, let's go for it.
Yeah.
But can we go back
15,
to,
but I think we need to have a specific number.
but can we go back to Dr. Young finishing up
Mhm.
his overall, how he
Yeah.
liked to set goals? 'Cause I think you interrupted him on that, and that was helping us with our train of thought. He was telling us how he liked to set goals.
Yeah, and I agree. I would love to do, we can do instead of focus on growth, we can focus with a specific target area. So in other words, but I would love, because here's what can happen. if we break down even the data that we get, so we may break it down, special education, ELL students, you know, even socioeconomic status. We can break it down boys, we can break it down girls. The way we've currently done it, the way we set our goals, we may have a group that's performing really, really well, gen ed students. And we have another particular group that's performing well below where we would want them to and where we would expect them to, right? So I think what I would love to be able to do is to say, hey, listen, there's an area here, there's something here that we
Let's
may
do
need
it.
to focus on. Yeah, we need to set some goals.
Let's do it.
And see what we're doing over here. Let's keep that going. But I think as far as setting the goals, let's set the goals on trying to bring this area up.
Right.
And then every year we go back and evaluate and say, hey, you know what? We focused in that area, we did a great job, but you know, Dr. Young, it looks like we kind of let this go. And get a little bit deeper in the data. And we can set, hey, 2% go, 3% go, whatever that we decide is the target. I would love, but I think in order to do it, now here's a challenge with that. For example, with iLearn data, we won't get that data back until the fall, right? So let's say we had goals that were set that had nothing to do with student achievement performance. We can get those set, but we won't really know where we end with student achievement, at least on the standardized state scores, some of them, until early fall.
So,
Dr. Young, the 13% that I'm looking at, this is the antiquated way that has been used for years, am I right, to get to this 13%?
The way that the goal has been set is, since I've been superintendent, it's kind of been overall. We look at all areas, SAT, and what percent of kids that are
But that
efficient, yes.
compared to what you're talking about today, that would be antiquated, wouldn't it? Compared to what you want to talk about as it relates.
Yes, yeah, the way I want to do is different,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
And
potentially, yeah.
yeah, so the shift in this, I just couldn't imagine, you know, that the goals were not set prior to 2025. I thought, you know, when I looked at the 13%, I said, well, what was the goal? Was the goal 65%, and we gained 13% getting to the 65%, or what?
Yeah, the goal has been kind of what's written, that is that we move the bar up, that we increase. That's the goal. That's what it has been. And then what we have done behind the scene is really kind of what I'm suggesting we can even write goals here. Because even when we sit down and look at the data, we're breaking it down into all these different groups and saying, hey, listen, we've really got to lean into this area, which has helped us continue to get the overall growth in scores. We just don't kind of do a homogeneous apply strategies and supports to everybody the exact same way. It's definitely more equitable in where we're kind of missing out, which has helped us continue to get overall growth.
And it sounds like, Dr. Moore, that, and especially since probably me and Mr. Anderson been on the board, we are been on the board the longest, it doesn't sound like we ever had a percentage. When you talk about what is this percentage, I don't think we never reached for a percentage.
No, not like a benchmark.
No.
It's been focused
Never had.
on growth.
So I like what you're saying, because one of the things that I've thought about, so when I see these numbers, 13%, 18%, they feel really low. But I've also realized, you know, if you compare ours, Pike compared to School District B out here, you know, whatever this mythical one is, if their special education and their ELL numbers are significantly lower than ours, it logically makes sense that their test scores, they have a larger general population, their scores are probably going to be higher. Exactly, all the things, yeah. And so what ways we can do to break this down, if we can compare even a little more apples to apples, it gives a better understanding. Where's our general population compared to the general population of the state, our ELL,
Yes.
our special ed, those kind
Yes.
of things. But I also I hear what you're saying about we don't get the numbers until the fall. And I know we want to have a growth mindset, but it also feels like we should be able to set a benchmark and say, look, even if it's something that we think is a stretch one to try to attain, you know, we want it to be, again, making up numbers. If 40% of the state is, you know, passing, is hitting this of Gen Pop, well, we want our Gen Pop to be continually moving towards that, or if that
Sure.
makes sense. Like, you know,
Yeah.
again, even if it's a little bit of a, what seems like a stretch goal
Yeah,
for us.
yeah, absolutely.
So
You
what
know-
does that look like? What does that look like? If you're going to set the bar, what are the mechanics to get us there? I know we have data, so that simply means we're going to have to possibly create a space that's going to have to put some time in that particular area
Oh, yeah.
to make sure that that data, and I think it needs to be monitored by the board. I think it does. I mean, because I've been reading some stuff about fraudulent education numbers here recently, and I think we need to monitor those type of things, so we won't have those issues.
Yeah.
Not to say that we have those.
No.
But
Well-
it's called being proactive.
Yeah, well, one thing I would say, because we have people listening, all of these metrics are state standardized tests.
Understand.
So these aren't internal tests, these are tests that the state
Understand.
manages. And so that is absolute, you know, the case. And yeah, we can, you know, kind of set some goals prior to having those final data points in the fall. And the other thing we can do too is just move very quickly. I don't believe that it'll be late fall. I think we'll have a lot of this data when it comes to, you know, August, September. So earlier in the school year. And the other thing that we do, if you look at how the graduation rate, it's not based on the final graduation rate, because we won't get that until October. What we've done is we set a metric and said, well, what's reasonable when our kids walk across the stage? That's why that graduation rate is typically lower, because we believe here's the percent of kids, at least in May. It's not what we want them to be in October, but at least when they cross the stage in May, what's realistic, what's a little bit of a stretch for us, and what's that percent look like? And that's why now we graduate a whole lot of kids over the summer and the fall, but we do that preliminary. Yeah.
I think that's one thing, just even thinking about communications, and because again, you know, when you see these numbers, I think the better we can do communicating to the community, even that those things happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like between having a wife who was a teacher, and just
Yeah.
generally attending school, was pretty well informed. It took me a long time to understand that the number that graduates in May is not
Yes.
the graduation number.
Yeah.
That number may not happen until October. That when you don't live, eat, breathe this every day,
Yeah.
that doesn't necessarily, you know, sink in here. And so getting those, even just getting that understanding out, it's difficult.
It is, and I think it's an area too, we could even set goals on even doing that.
Yeah.
I believe for us, as far as performance goals, we can set goals just on things such as, in addition to some things such as achievement, whatever the board decides, on communication, what we share, how we share. So kind of my original, which were never goals, but just sort of conversations, sort of suggested and alluded to. You know, I welcome conversations and even bringing in members of the team to talk about, you know, what goals are realistic for Pike. One thing that we have seen, that's why, and you may have seen in my Friday notes yesterday, where we talked about the legislation that's looking at targeting big supports, requirements for schools that perform at a certain level for 3 years. Well, in my experience, it's not just requirements, or if there's requirements, it costs a whole lot of money and then the state doesn't chip in. But urban schools, when it comes to standardized tests, typically our kids don't perform as high as our suburban colleges. Just to give you one example. So you all are very familiar with the federal funding that was cut, now I'm gonna say gutted, for preschool. I shared data with you all the last couple of years that if kids went through our preschool program, they passed I-read at a level much higher than the state average. But what requires, but our children, just like all children, but especially our children, that, you know, American Standard English may not be what is spoken at home. And I shared, American Standard English wasn't spoken, I was born in Indianapolis. It wasn't spoken in my home, and my parents are educated. In the professional world, they used it. When they came home, they didn't. So our suburban colleagues, many of those children are in a preschool program, 3 and 4, at a very, very high percent, in addition to having some opportunities and resources that some of our kids don't, right? So just that one factor. Well, with that being gutted and cut, those are all things that we have to think about when we try to set, you know, some realistic goals. We're just not going to have as many kids in our preschool program. So this year, what we did is we used I shared with you guys our cash balance. So we had cash balance in our preschool early learning and our after-school program. And we were blessed to even have churches that came alongside of us and provided scholarships for families. The challenge is we can't do that next year. So next year we have to right side and say, here's what it costs. We have to now extend that to our families. So what do you think is going to happen to the number of kids in our program? It's going to go down. And the challenge is those dollars are used not just in our preschool, they're used in every preschool program. So that means there's nowhere for our families that can't afford it to be able to go, especially to get the level of instruction, right? I think we may have kids in more of a supervisory sort of daycare, but not one in which they get instruction. So all of those types of things impact, I believe, urban schools, and definitely Pike Township, very different than suburban. So as we set goals, I just think we want to keep in mind too, setting goals that aren't necessarily based on everyone else, but on what's realistic.
And I agree
Yeah,
with
yeah.
everything you're saying. The one exception I think I would make to it is out here at the homecoming carnival.
Yes.
I had a lady come up to me from that works in a rural district in Indiana, and said the exact same thing that you were just saying.
Rural, absolutely.
So I guess just what I want to say is, I think from a communication standpoint, the more, if you guys have statewide superintendent, like whatever you can do, if our schools could consistently start reporting, not just here's our numbers at the end, here's the numbers here's the numbers that our kids that came through our preschool had. If that communication gets out, it's got to help change the message. I had dinner with some friends the other night, and the wife is a teacher, and the husband was saying something about how, well, schools aren't a money-making thing for the state or something. I said, well, yes, they are, because if a student comes through the schools and gets a job, now they're not on welfare whenever they get out, and there's not a cost to the state. That they are contributing to things. And I threw in, and if we can get them reading by the end of 3rd grade, we know the 3rd grade to jail pipeline that's there. And so if we can get funding to help them with that, but people don't hear that. They hear, you're wanting to cost me tax dollars and I don't see the benefit. We got to do a better job with the communication of those things.
Going back to what he said, because I think in the last meeting we had, I asked about the cuts. And you just mentioned one of the cuts. But the community doesn't know that. They don't know that. And we cannot be afraid to talk about the cuts. And where the resources, if we're not cutting, where the resources are going to come from. We are deceiving the community when we do not tell them that there's going to be cuts so they can prepare themselves on what to begin to do about that child. no longer, will you offer that
Yeah.
in this district anymore because of the cuts?
Right.
And that's going to be devastating. But do you know the percentage of families that don't know that yet? That you're not going to be able to give that service to our children. Nobody knows that yet. So those are the kind of things I try to ask you guys to bring out so that community can understand what's going on. And then when you look at you, they'll say, well, Dr. Young told us it was coming.
Yeah.
He told us it was coming, and now it's here. A lot of people don't know it.
Yeah. And I think just, I know people are listening. Everything we've talked about has been shared with the community. I think what we're talking about is effective communication, how we get better. But none of this has not been communicated.
Right.
We just want, I think, as a group, to make sure that we
Are
are
we
putting
more
it in
effective?
people's laps so that everybody gets it
Yeah.
in a more effective way.
And I think one thing,
I'm sorry.
and then I'll wrap it. So one thing I do think just also, we often compare ourselves, us and then the suburban, and from where we live, that's what we see.
Oh, yeah.
I think we would be surprised if we did have more communications about the numbers. I think in the numbers you're talking about there, if our urban communities talk to some of the rural communities,
Yeah.
you're gonna see a lot more synergies than anybody thinks is there on some of those things, because not racially, ethnically, but in a lot of the ways, we see the same things, and it's
That's right.
killing people all over the state.
Many of the organizations that we're part of, like the Indiana Urban School, we have conversations and partner where we can
Awesome.
with the rural organizations, especially in our lobbying efforts down there. And what we've really worked on too is, and I can talk about what some of the obstacles are in what we've talked about, is also when it comes to state takeover, charter schools. I believe the rural schools, when it comes to now, they're dealing with consolidation. So it's kind of like, okay, you're coming after us too. Well, we've been living that world for years. So I think that now those things is kind of like, okay, maybe we work together. But the challenge we have is there is a belief in rural schools that the urban schools are the problem.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We are the issue, we're the challenge. And some of those walls have been up that I think now are starting to.
Gotta break those
because
down.
we need one another.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
My question is about timing. A couple of times so far, you've mentioned, well, we have this goal, but we don't have the scores until this date.
Yes, ma'am.
We don't have the information until later.
Yes, ma'am.
What would be the benefits of us shifting our goal timeline? Like, are we locked into, has to be turned in June, has to be, are we locked into that? Or can we look at shifting the timeline of the goals based on when we get the data
It's up
so
to
we
the
can
board.
make better goals?
That's up to the board. I think however you all want to do that, there's nothing that would stop us from doing that. Yeah, great question.
Okay, the point of what Dr. Moore was saying, the community knowing, but that also gives those that would want to come alongside and partner and say, we have money,
Yeah. Yeah.
we want to fill that gap, but if they don't know we have that need, they can't even come and say, Pike, here's the money,
Yeah.
do the program.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A prime example, right? We want to do better at that. But a prime example was we have an ambassador group. And with the ambassador group, I presented this exact same challenge, right? And then I paused. And guess what people said? Well, how can we help? Well, I'm glad you asked.
Right.
And that's where the sponsorships and those it came out of that group, the ambassador group, where we presented these
But I
issues
think
and
the
challenges.
communication of clear, this is the amount, this is the deficit, this is the cut, this is the
Yep,
exact amount.
exact amount, yep.
We have to communicate that, and it can't be a one and done. Has to be constant, whether we're doing communication on all platforms.
Yeah,
And even just, and I know this is a big ask of you, but it coming from you, this is, community, this is what we need. And And you saying, I can't do the way you are used to Nathaniel Jones
Yeah.
Learning Center operating.
Right.
I can't do that without your help, without your support. I need this much money for
Well,
that.
now, and I think we can talk about that. I think, I don't know even legalities in regards of asking for the individuals to pay for other kids, their education. And we can have that, that discussion, but I think definitely getting that message out. And then when people ask how they can help, we can share, here's what other folks have done, for sure.
And there's more,
I
and
know
that's
we
why I'm glad we
can't
have
wait for that,
this
but-
type of conversation,
Yeah.
because when, one thing I want to commend Steve, Nicole, and Dr. Moore on their perspective on understanding what type of information needs to come out and what the community needs to know,
Yep.
and how to convey that. Because when we know like the nitty gritty,
Yep.
and my thing was, it's like, how does this information compare with the state? But when we get into those conversations, it
Yeah.
sparks up possible solutions to opportunities. When we talk about money, we have financial people on this board. And so now we're thinking of, okay, if the government, if they're going to cut and gut some areas,
Yeah.
what can we do with our own funds? Like,
Sure.
how does the interest on, say, the rainy day fund?
Yeah, yeah.
If that's sitting in a certain account, what do we do with the interest with that? Because it's $12 million. Can that interest supplement where we're getting cut in some area? Stuff like that. And so that's why I think it's so important that we have the quarterly meetings. So then we don't go long stretches.
Sure.
Because when you go long stretches, I forget, what did
Right.
that mean the first time? But if
Yeah.
we have quarterly meetings on, this is where we're on the data, this is the goal,
Yeah.
and this is how we're trending.
Sure.
And then that keeps that conversation going with everyone and keeps ideas
Yeah.
fresh.
Absolutely.
So, Dr. Eric, I
Yes.
have one more question, and I apologize, 'cause I know this is a putting you on the spot question, and I know this is going out.
Yeah.
But as the liaison to PTAF,
Yes.
we've got treasures coming up.
Yeah.
We've got a room full of people paying way more for a dinner than you have to pay for a dinner because they love our students, they love the things going on.
Uh-huh.
If I were able to, if you were offered a slot at Treasures to be able to present this type of information to that room before we start the push at the end, where they're just asking people to throw in some extra donations,
Yeah.
is that something we could do?
Yeah, and that's actually some things we've actually done.
Okay.
Sort of in the past, sort of my vision would be sort of a state of the district,
Yeah.
right? And that's what I did with the ambassador groups. Hey, these are some things that are going real well, which basically says, because everyone wants their investment before they determine to invest. You're not going to invest in anything
Exactly.
that's
Why?
not good, that doesn't have potential. So to do a state of the district, hey, here's some things that we're really proud of.
Yeah.
Right? Now, here's some things we're worried about. Here's some obstacles, these are some challenges that have arisen. Here's some things that are coming around the corner, or some things that might be waiting on us around the corner. And sort of pause and then let folks know how you can help, or here's why your contributions to PTAF could help and assist us. And then in PTAF, we would more than welcome if they had sort of a line where they say, you know what, this money will be set aside through donations to help out with potential
That's what I'm
scholarships
asking about, yeah,
as
yeah.
well. But yeah, I'd love to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, love to do that.
And you would even take the time to throw in referendum dollars and where they're, update on that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's an investment. A lot of those folks live in Pike. So even with your investment through referendum dollars, right? I mean, here's some things we've done thanks to the your folks that live in Pike contributions and so forth, right? What we've done with security, I thank you all for your support on this one. And I'm gonna kick myself if something happens, but the new system that we're utilizing, weapon detection, has been huge. And I can remember that January when I took over, and the difference, and it kind of it made my stomach hurt a little bit, just with some of the things that we were finding, and with children coming back into schools, and to look at I mean, nearly no issues at all with any sort of knives, weapons, guns. I mean, it's been amazing when you think about 3,400 children. And I think a part of that started with before we got in the system, the random tests that we did. The other, I think we have a community that really embraces safety and security. But then also with the new system, it's been a game changer. So, you know, thank you to the board, thank you to the community for their investment.
All right. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you.
Young. You up with Ms. Barnes?
So I've got, before you sit down, so this was about goals and presentation, so what is our next steps on goals? Where do we take this to decide if we want goals to come in earlier, what we want to do with this? I love the presentation. What is our next step?
Our next step is we have to create the goal itself.
Okay, okay.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, so when we talked about timing, would it be better for us, for our goals to be per annum instead of by school year?
Per
Like,
what now?
Per annum, like
Okay.
start in
Yeah.
January instead of July.
Yeah, so my thoughts would be, so here's what I think about goals, right? So my question for the board is, what are our priorities? So we think about priorities, we have achievement, safety. I just wrote down communication, because communication was one that came. There's so many different things. And so my question for the board would be, okay, well, first of all, what are our priorities? And then within those priorities, what are our challenges and obstacles? So then we have our challenges and obstacles, right? And then within those challenges and obstacles, what would be our priority? Because we can't do everything. But out of these challenges and obstacles, what are the ones you say, you know, Dr. Young, for this next year, I really think these things we really want to jump on. And then from those, what I would love to be able to do is to write some language based on those goals. Now, if the board says, and we land at a place where we don't have to wait because the data we have, then we wouldn't have to change. If the board landed at a place where we needed, you know, some of that achievement data and those things, then I think we would maybe, I never thought about that. But where it may make a whole lot of sense to say, hey, these are goals, these aren't 25, 26, these are November of 26 to no, right, goals. That makes a lot of
So
sense.
can we get, we got a board meeting coming up this Thursday, right?
No, it's the 12th. So this next week we're off.
Oh, we're
Then the
done.
week after
January
that.
had an extra week.
We had an
Okay.
extra week, yeah.
So then can we get a work session
Yeah, whatever.
on the follow-up of these
Yeah.
goals?
Yes.
So that we can continue?
Yeah,
that was
to
kind of
chop
my
down.
question.
Yes, and I'm happy to kind of, I just talk off the top of my head, but to kind of go through that process to help us get to that place.
Yeah.
So work session scheduled
Okay.
for the next
What,
week?
Yes.
this week or the week before, or before the?
The week of the board meeting,
The 12th.
yeah.
Okay.
That way we all can gain traction and let him, and then the work is even better in the work session, because now we got the community there too.
Yeah, agreed, yeah.
So then my question, I guess, is for the board. Our next step was to really kind of write down what do our students need the most from us and what's one outcome that we can monitor. Would you feel comfortable writing that today, or do you want to write that based on the information that's coming?
I
Since we
think
just
what's coming,
decided
yeah.
on, hey, we need a little bit more information to do
I
that.
don't think we should write about a hypothetical,
Okay, that's fair.
based on the fact that school boards are changing.
Sure.
I don't think we've recognized that yet. School boards are changing, and I think you're aware of that. The whole ideology is changing with school boards, and you're gonna have to be tailor-made to fit your district now, because you're not gonna have the resources. And that's why I feel, just me, probably nobody else, that there needs to be, you can't deal with hypotheticals now. You're gonna have to deal with the facts of the district. If you don't deal with the facts of the district, we're gonna be in trouble. then if we deal with the facts of the district, then we might come up with some hypotheticals that could be workable inside of the priorities that are going to be set to move forward. But I think you have to deal with the facts of where school boards are going and where dollars are now. And when you talk about the new 9-member appointed by the mayors, that's going to eventually come down. It's going to go to every aspect, and they're going to be in charge of who gets referendum.
So help us, Dr. Moore, with changing. Tell us more about, and you mean in terms of others selecting school board, free and fair elections?
Well, you've been here longer than I have, and
Well,
you always say that, and I think if you've been paying attention to what's going on, you can see, you know, the difference in the ideology of how things are being administered. And most school boards now are not authentically from the community.
yeah.
Most school boards are infused with corporation mindsets. And so if you want to run for school board, somebody comes to you and say, well, here's, I got your flyers, I can mail you flyers, I can do all this, but eventually you're gonna have to pay the piper. And so that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Making sure that we understand these shifts and that we keep the priorities that this board comes up with and moving in the right direction.
Okay.
I want to clarify a point just for a second. I was not, certainly not suggesting we base goals on anything hypothetical. It was either basing it on the data that we received from Dr. Young with our 13%, 75%, 18, 10, or doing drill down data on the same information that gives us our subsets. So I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. I never.
I'm glad you clarified that, because that's what it sounded like.
It was not that. It was like, are we gonna deal with these
Apparently you didn't
percents?
finish the statement.
Or are we gonna deal with our subset data, which is a lot more robust than this?
Yeah.
And we've decided as a group, from what I hear you saying, that we wanna go with our subset
Yeah.
data, which we don't have here right now
When they
today.
bring it, yeah.
We're gonna get that in a couple of weeks and we'll talk about it then.
Well, and one thing I would share is, but that subset data would be this year, if we're setting goals, but we won't have data for next year.
Exactly.
So if we do the subset data for next year, we'd have to drill down maybe a little bit later, or if we drill down now, we would set goals for next year, but it would be, I guess, it'd be 2 years in arrear.
That makes
potentially.
sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So if we drill down and do it that way, we may have to look at the drill down data in the fall and then set the data. So in a couple of weeks, I guess what I'm saying, we won't have the drill down. I can bring the drill down data, but we've already set goals on that data. If we want to do the drill down data, we'd have to do that in the fall.
You're saying we've already set goals for
For
this
this
school
data,
year.
yes.
We won't have the drill down data from this school year until November.
That's what well, I think it's more like August, September.
Okay, but even then, if we started though, because I know I was one that presented
Yes.
to you and said, I don't understand why our
Yes.
goals
Yeah.
are halfway through the school
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Even, I always want progress over perfection.
Sure.
To me, perfection would be we get the goals in August. Progress is at least we've got them in October,
Yeah.
November,
Yeah.
that's still better than
Yeah.
where we are now.
Exactly.
Into this, I'm sorry.
The drill down issue that you're
Yes.
talking about, we've already have that, we have that data working now.
Yeah.
But is there something we could do that would create a pilot ideology going into start looking at that particular situation?
Uh-huh.
Figure out what those priorities are.
Yes.
And begin to set those particular situations, even before we get the drought.
Yeah.
Based on what you've already worked with,
Yeah.
some of the backlog data,
Yeah.
that you can look at that and see the trends of increases and
Sure.
decreases in those areas.
Well, yes, sir. I think if I'm understanding correctly, like one of the things we can do, we have our CI curriculum professional development team. And so drilling down if I'm understanding correctly, we can talk about what we're seeing, what we're currently doing, even now. Some of those same trends that we've seen may actually be the same issues and challenges we have in the fall, right? And I think all we'll need is just that time. So whether it's a work
Yeah, no,
session
no,
or
the work session
quarterly
would be good.
meeting,
Yeah.
if you guys say, hey, here's the topic, I'll make sure I have the right people there to explain to the board and get all the information that we need in preparation for that portion of the goal. But again, I still think even next meeting, to even begin that conversation, to hear from the board, these are the priorities we see in the district. So these are the priorities. Now, within those priorities, what are the areas that we're like, hey, we need to focus a little bit on these areas, this particular area, or this particular area, this particular area for this next school year. We can still begin that process, which would be helpful. Because the board may say, Dr. Young, listen, there's some like again, I keep hearing communication. And I'm not, but if the board said, hey, we want to set some goals and we'd like to see maybe this format happen, at least quarterly, blah, 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 blah. Those things we can have in place, ready to launch. And the one thing I was going to share was, even if it comes later, to Mr. Hoover's point, to Mrs. Barnes' point, if we launch the goals in October, November, it still can be a goal it can still be an October to October goal.
Yeah.
It can still be a whole year goal.
Yeah.
We just don't launch it at the start of the school year.
Yeah.
And we can explain to the community, this is a year goal.
Yeah.
But it does, when the data comes in, it doesn't align to the school year.
Right.
And so that should be brought out in the work session coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. And even when I present those to the board, if you all want, I can explain.
Yes.
You know, hey, it's October, board, you know, even though it's October, we're in the middle of the school year, because of the way the data comes in, this is still a year ago, so our recommendation, I can even, the way we present it,
So we
can do
set
that
up,
too.
So we can set up targeted areas ahead of what we can.
That's what I'm talking about.
Couldn't hear you, Miss.
I'm sorry. We can set up targeted intervention areas that we need to work on.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
when we get the data, we can just plug them in.
Plug
Yes,
into
ma'am.
those
That's right.
areas.
Yes, ma'am.
So we can already have that done.
Yes,
We can
ma'am.
hassle that.
That's right,
Sound
that's
good?
right. And some of the data, other than the student achievement, we may already have, right? So when we think about safety, security, right, those goals, I think I may have sent you guys a report that we look at monthly when it comes to infractions with our students. That type of data we already have.
My point exactly, that's what I was basically
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Create that data, get that data together,
Mhm.
and create a pilot type of program.
Mhm.
And so when the real stuff comes out, you just plug it in.
Yeah, yeah.
Just plug it in. And
Right.
Right.
Right. So if you guys say at the next meeting, Dr. Young, these are the priorities that we have seen, then when I say, cool, at the next meeting, I'll pull all the data in these areas that you've identified as a priority. Or if you tell me prior to that meeting, hey, can you give some data in this area, I'll bring it to the meeting.
But then we also would need the priorities that you all are prioritizing.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yeah, we'll bring that. Things that we've seen, absolutely, yes.
Exactly, Pastor.
Yeah.
Can you bring to that meeting, so just a specific piece of data, I think that would help me, like, what is the percentage breakdown? And I don't know if it makes sense district-wide, if we need to get more narrow, but the idea of like, what percentage of our students are what we consider general population?
Uh-huh.
What percentage is special education? What percentage is ELL? Because again, I think, one, those are the breakdowns we see from the state.
So like
I
the
said
demographic.
ELL, English language learners, yeah.
Okay.
Is what I mean.
The term that I'm hearing is you want demographic data for our kids. So like, you know, what percent are qualified ELL? What percent special education? What
Yeah.
percent gen ed? What percent boys? What percent girls?
Yeah, so some of those things to help, because again, I think, and I want to be really delicate how I say this, but I mean, you know, you would expect our general population students to have higher test scores than our students who are trying to learn the language,
Sure.
right? And so just being fair in those areas, how we're presenting the data, and maybe even seeing this, you know, look, if we have maybe even we see coming, hey, there's a spike, our ELL students are growing maybe that's an area we need to put special focus in, because now that is becoming a bigger percentage of our school district. Just some of those types of things is where I'm going at with it.
Can you separate
Makes
that,
sense.
the HF, the high ability students?
High ability to, yeah.
Yeah, can you separate those so you pull those out, the percentage of high ability students, then you can concentrate on gen ed students.
That makes sense too, yeah, kind of those different tiers of, yeah.
So is it fair, well, not fair, is it appropriate, you think, for us today to kind of at least get those priority buckets? Like, are we comfortable saying, I mean, we've said communication a lot. It sounds like that's already
Put them in
a
the
priority.
buckets.
So, I mean, at least to kind of have an overarching thing, so we're not starting from scratch. When we get together again, we can at least know, all right, we know we need something about communication. Absolutely, and we kind of have this mechanism built in today. So, I'm trying to, let me think of how we can do this. We know that communication is one.
Right.
It sounds like safety is the
Safety.
second. And
What's the
then safety,
Okay, yes.
safety is the second.
Yeah.
Achievement.
And then achievement would be our third. So as far as the guardrails, those are the things that we have a priority about. I'm so sorry.
The communication, Ms. Barnes.
As someone,
I
as
got
my
that.
father is calling me.
Yeah, I've got communication, safety, student achievement.
Yeah, communication, there's the ABC.
And we can focus on the
Yeah,
ABC.
it's just not communication.
Right, because we're gonna fill in those buckets
Yeah.
with specifics, but we gotta
We
drill
want
it
the bullet
down.
points and then
You just making buckets. it's-
Right, these are just.
We got the subjects and then the bullet points afterwards.
Right.
Now we just wanna
And that
clarify which
helps,
ones.
that
we want.
helps Dr. Young and his team to know, all right, what do we have to get ready?
Yeah.
Can I throw one out? One of the things we've talked about, and we didn't necessarily say it's a bucket, but it's gonna be a challenge, is financial.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So is that one that we add to the bucket as well?
Yeah,
Financial goals?
Yeah, because I do think there's conversation to be had there that maybe we haven't had in my time on the board, which is, we know we got the big buckets, right?
Yeah.
Are there places we can be, I don't want to use the word creative, that's kind of back up a bit, thoughtful about, hey, we had stuff in this bucket, maybe we need to take some and shift it to this bucket, which means we're gonna hurt this bucket. I mean, hard decisions.
Right,
have to
and
be made.
and what's so ironic about it is, people might not understand when you just got a deposit of $14 million. And then you gotta come up and tell them, because they don't understand
Yeah.
they don't understand the pillars that you've created for the referendum. And I've been asking that to take place. So when you get, you're adding it now to the bucket list, the financial piece. Just like you made a statement in the last meeting, your team is working on trying to cut areas. But now we find out the area of kindergarten is going to be cut. Like you said, gutted by the state. Gutted by the state. Let me say it that way. Yeah, by the state, let me say it that way. But whatever, it's gonna be gutted by the state, which means you're not gonna get those resources. Okay, that's what I'm saying. When you say gutted by the state, it's not your intention
Oh,
not to have.
federal government. I want
Federal
to say
government,
state. And
it's
the
not
state
your
contribute.
intention, it's not your intention not to have
Yeah.
that. But that's what I've been trying to get people to understand, that, when you ask for a referendum, we gotta be clear on where that goes as much as possible, because you got cuts coming out.
Well, even like as you've been doing the presentations on the referendum spending, making sure that it continues to be broadcast, that
Yeah,
that's not extra
right.
or additional, that's replacing. And I think it's always clear that Esther was doing X, Y, Z. These funds were doing X, Y, Z. This is now a replacement. It's not extra, it's not anything that is
We can
above
spend
and beyond
any way
what we
want.
had.
Right.
It's just replacing,
Yeah.
and that's only for this period, reminding folks, once that runs out, this period of time is all we have for
Sure.
that.
Right.
Once that runs out, now we've got to, again, begin to thinking about sometimes it's a kick the can kind of a thing till we get
the solution to, okay, once ESSER ran out, we said, oh, now we need the referendum dollars. Okay, now once those run out, okay, what we're gonna do now?
Sure.
And so how do we continually, creatively, all the things, and letting the community know, community, this is what we're constantly communicating, we're back to that communication of, this is where we are, this is where we want to stay, and here's where the gap.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think it needs to be said that, I think the superintendent wants every program he can to help a child.
Absolutely.
I think that. And if he's not helping those children in those areas, it's not because he doesn't want to. It's because the federal government has prohibited him from doing it by not giving him the resources to do it. And I think those are that's the kind of language I talk about when I'm in the community.
It's gotta be.
It's not that the superintendent didn't want to do that.
Right.
The superintendent doesn't have the money to do that because of federal cuts.
So,
And we have to be a board, and I'm gonna say this, that will defend our teachers and defend the superintendent. We just cannot just defend one or the other. We have to defend both of them. Because the teachers are the system for us. That is the system for us. And so we have to understand that we have to be able to cheer both aspects on and do it in a way to where the community understands it. Because there's going to be a lot of pressure on him from what I'm hearing that's coming around the corner. You know, you said, well, we see what we see, but some of us don't see around the corner yet. And the corner's not good. It's not good. And anybody that's supporting that particular behavior in an area of politics, they really need to look at what they're doing to our children.
Well,
And let me
Focus that we
just say,
have.
just to kind of pick up on Dr. Moore's comments, just following up. As long as I've been on the board, every board that I've sat on, and every person that have come on the board and off the board, have not only been, in our opinion, for just administration, they've been for teachers also. And I've sat in this seat with every board member that's off the board, and we haven't had a board member that, in my opinion, in Mr. Anderson's opinion, that has not been for teachers. We have been.
That's not what I'm saying, Mr. President.
No, not that. Well, I mean, I'm just making my comment.
But that's not what I'm saying.
I'm not saying that's what you're saying. My comment is that I have not sat on the board that has not been for teachers and administration. We want to see the whole welfare of our district. Now, we may go about it different ways, but we want to see the whole welfare of the district.
Let me come back with that because, I'm sorry, I had to do it because when I'm talking about the collaboration of everybody, I'm talking about a healthy district. I don't think there's anybody on this board that is not in support of teachers. I don't think there's anybody of this board that's not in support of the superintendent and what he's trying to project. Don't miss me on that. There's some other areas that are places of concern. But all I'm basically saying is in this new day, we're going to have to project superintendent and teachers together. All of this together. It's a brand new day. And because you might lose your union in about another 6 months. So boards are going to have a different philosophy about the district totally, because teachers are just going to be out there probably less than 12 months. They're just going to be out there. And that's coming. That is coming, whether we realize it or not. And when I'm talking about board supporting superintendent and teachers, we have to be the cheerleader now.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you all misunderstood it.
And I was just going to piggyback on that. And I think everyone is probably somewhat familiar, even if you're not real familiar with the details. And I don't like to talk about any other school districts. I won't go into a whole lot of detail. But when we look at what's happening right here in Indianapolis,
Absolutely.
where we're now looking at having appointees,
To the board.
not elected,
Right.
but appointees that get to make decisions for local school districts. That's, to your point, Dr. Moore, that is a whole new day. And one, I think we have to push back and fight. That's why we have our lobbyists, and every year I'm down, I go and sit down with legislators, we have conversations, all of that. So one, we need to fight it, we need to push back. But then two, I do agree that we have to be careful with our messaging, because the people that want to, and I'm just gonna say this, I don't know how to kind of skirt around it, the people that want to dismantle public education the way that it currently is, they're looking for an in. They're looking for an out. They're looking for a crack. They're looking for any opportunity where they can see an in. And to be quite honest, I think that's where we saw that fight when I first took over with the charter schools. I'll never forget, it was January, we had just walked, we took over January, that February, March, we started standardized testing. I'll never forget, it was that fall, there was an article, man, in that Star, I don't want to give an outlet credit, but what they stated was, Pike Township was the only school district that hadn't made any gains.
Absolutely.
In I-learn. And I remember saying, well, never again, never again. Now, what soon happened right after that is we started seeing an onslaught of charter schools trying to get in the district.
Yeah. They're still coming.
They are, but I think we were successful, but I think even too, what I saw for the people that defended their actions in IPS, first it was financial. Then, I don't know if you noticed it, they piggybacked on test scores and achievement. Now, I shared this maybe a week ago in my Friday notes, South Bend. There was legislation that was proposed for a state takeover of a school district, and it had nothing to do with them being in financial straits. I believe they used the achievement point, or there was another.
What is that now?
South Bend.
Yeah.
And my point is, now we're living in a world where we have people at the State House that have taken an oath to take care of and ensure that public education is here for our kids and grandkids and their kids, that are literally proposing legislation to take over a school district for whatever reason they want. So I just want us to be cognizant and careful about the messaging and things that we were putting out, that we have a united front, because any excuse they come up with, they'll use it.
So I just want to jump in because I can be louder than her. Tony, you had something you wanted to say.
It was so long ago.
Are you pointing over here?
Well, I was trying to reference to Angela's, the 3 buckets, and we had achievement was one of them. And I wanted to figure out where our goals would be to address, as we talk about staff and teachers, how we address the goals of attendance and discipline in the school, because those affect the teachers in their daily operations of teaching.
Let me piggyback on that, and what she just basically said, yes.
What?
Yeah, I will do that. That is going to be the next, they're going to weaponize attendance now.
And they already have.
They're weaponizing attendance, and it's going to affect the resources that are going to be coming to school systems. So those are kind of things, when you talk about the bucket list, Ms. Angela, what are we doing to get kids to come to school and reduce the expulsion rate? So those are things that I think are important, because they're going to weaponize that against the public school system.
They do an AD account. I think we're all aware of that. AD account, the admin account. You know, the one they do every year.
The ADM.
Oh, the ADM?
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry,
yes.
I can't get.
That's
Yeah, and evidently it's very important to not only how much money we receive based on the number of students we have, And then it also depends on, it plays a big factor in it. And then when teachers are constantly complaining that I've got a student that we're already to second semester, and I haven't seen them yet, but they're still on, I mean, those type of things affect us in some way or another. So how are we monitoring that? How are we making sure that those goals and the kids that are disciplined are sent home? And, you know, we got an email from a parent that the child was sent home and there was no reason for it. And she was fighting to try to get her student back in school. So I don't know how, you know, where those numbers are, but it's just, so I don't know where it fits in those three buckets, but I would think it would fall somewhere in the chief.
It ought to be in the bucket. I mean, I'm telling you, that they're coming at that particular situation, and you don't want the superintendent to be hit from the blind side. You know, and if he shows or projects a plan, it doesn't have to be a concrete plan. It just has to be a plan to say that this is what we're doing to boost our attendance or to get a hold of our attendance, because it's coming.
And again, that's another communication bullet, because your community can get that message out too. You need to be in school. Here's why. The churches in our district, we have pastors that would gladly partner with us and say, every Sunday from their pulpit, you need to be in school. Here's why you need to be in school. Why are you not in school? You know, get the mamas, the grandmamas involved, and baby, why are you not in school? Because if y'all know my mother, first thing she says to a child, where you go to school, how you doing in school, and if they say, oh ma'am, I haven't, why? I mean, get those folks in the community that are pro-public education, pro-helping children and students, give them a message that we want put out there. Attendance, they're coming. But even back to Dr. Moore's point about the governance and our role changing. If you're following House Bill 1423,
Yeah.
if you're following that, which we all need to be, the whole ILEA and all that, now it's moved to, they're hashing it out in the committees, and it's not done. But we need to make sure that if there's anything we can change, we need to be stating that to them now. We want to maintain local control of finance and local control of who sits on the board. That, right now, those are probably the two, if we can lobby for those two things, because that's the message they're trying to. We know certain things in that bill are gonna happen, but there's still some things that can change. So we need to continue to advocate local control for the finance and the governance.
You know, going back to what Dr. Young said, when they sent, Aaliyah sent that bill, sent that recommendation, I was in the audience that night. We stood and came against it. And everybody that voted for it said it was an imperfect recommendation. It was 3 from IPS that was supposed to go on, 3 from the mayor's office, and 3 from the business sector. Now the mayor, since it was an imperfect situation, he has all 9 appointments now. He has all 9.
I don't know if that's been finally decided.
He has all 9 appointments. Ma'am, you need to understand, this bill is going to pass.
No, I know it's gonna pass, but I didn't know they had finally decided that.
Yes, he has all, I was sitting with some people yesterday who were sitting in the place when the vote moved on.
Okay.
So if I bring something to you, I'm not gonna bring anything that is untrue. And so he has all 9, to where IPS had 3, the mayor's office had 3, and the business sector had 3, which was a 9 board. They gave him all 9. This particular school district is going to be ran by the mayor of Indianapolis.
You're talking about Dr. Moore, and I know the 3 that was appointed by the mayor at first. You talking about that video that you sent us, and we were watching that board meeting? Okay.
But
so
that's now moved, that's
But what
done.
but
Like
my
you said,
question
it's
is-
moved on to the State House.
Yeah.
and they
But
are
my
voting
question is,
now.
he's got all 9 of those seats?
No.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a new board now.
No,
right?
well, here's what happened, the Alea board, and I know you know, Dr. Young, if you don't mind,
Yeah,
they, those who were on the Alea board, who ran that board,
yeah.
were obligated to send recommendations to the State House. So, that night when they voted on it, it was 8-1. Everybody said,
Except the
it's an
teacher.
imperfect recommendation. We know, but it's an imperfect recommendation, and we're going to send it. So they sent it on, they voted to send it on, and it left, Dr. Webster, it left 3 here, 3 there, and 3 here.
Yeah.
Now, it's all 9 are being appointed by him, which is dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous because that group is already taking over IPS, and so they would certainly want to come after. But now, from what I'm understanding, as long as we're staying fiscally sound, and test scores, I'm understanding that we're all right. That's what I'm hearing.
Don't laugh at me for saying this, and don't think what Dr. Young is naive. I'm just telling you what our lobbyist has shared in her conversations with the supporters of the bill at the State House. So don't laugh at me, don't kick me out. Is that the message she keeps getting is that there's no plan or intent. So I don't know if we'll see it anytime soon.
Yeah.
Am I betting? No.
No.
But there's no plan and intent to expand that into the township schools,
No.
the township schools.
Well, they already did it in this context, where they said they could sell buildings off. Your name came up. Yeah, because about the selling of buildings.
Okay,
I think somebody from Pike, I don't know if it was you or not, but I know we're on public.
okay.
Did not want the buildings to be sold off. So they're reaching for buildings, if you know what I mean, Dr. Young.
Yeah.
And because, now, if you look at that bill now, we talk about those buildings in that bill being, I do an update every week on my Facebook page. I have an inside track with a lobbyist, and they do that work for us. But yeah, the real estate is important to them. That was one thing that came up out of Pike, that our real estate would not be up for sale. So that's what, and that was not a hypothetical, that was a fact mentioned. And so when you talk about expanding, when they gave out 1136, they talked about dismantling IPS, but look what they're doing now.
Yeah.
You know, they do a little bit at a time in those particular situations. So you have over maybe 100 school buildings that might be sold. And believe it or not, I'll say this publicly, most of them have already possibly been sold. And they just tell it, they haven't told the public yet. And most of these investors are in line already. And so that's why I'm talking about a different mindset of a school board. School boards, the historical aspect of them, not all, are rubber stamp boards in many instances. And so you're gonna have to be creative to support what the superintendent wants and to support these children and these families, because they are coming strongly. The pressure's gonna be turned up strongly on public education next year. And have you noticed, here's what's bothering me. All this is going on, but they say nothing about our children. They say nothing about the achievement gap. They say nothing about the education of our children. It's all about following the money right now.
So Doc, back to goals, and then we'll take about a 10-minute break. But back to goals, it's important on goals also that we, the board, knows the goals of, and how do we mix them in, the goals of all of our department heads And that, for example, we're going to hire a new AD. What do we know about the goals of our athletic department in terms of that we are in tune with? So if it's somewhere, we can see those type of goals. Does that make sense? And what's in place to be healthy, what's healthy and what's not healthy. So I think as we talk about goals, I think we need to see the totality of goals. Did that make sense?
Yeah, but Dr. Reed, just to clarify, we're getting ready to hire an assistant AD, right? Okay, I thought you said to get hired an AD.
No, I'm
and
talking
I didn't
about
want that.
goals of, in other words, let's say our, I ain't gonna say it to it, let's just say our athletic department is suffering or on life support. What are the goals and visions to turn that around? That's the type of stuff that I think that's important to us. What do we need to see? What's being done to turn that around? And if it's reported to you all and your cabinet, what does the board see?
So one of the things that I would love to do, not love to do, which I'm going to watch it roll out to the cabinet, which I think will actually hit on this, is and just kind of hearing, communication and so forth, kind of what's happening in the district, is probably break down the months, yeah, week 1, 2, 3, and 4. And with that, have week 1, different departments. And so once every week when I give my Friday notes, rather than you just necessarily have, hey, this would be an update from this department.
Yep.
Right? So I see one of my captain members, thanks for coming today, back there, but in her department. So you may have the second week of the month. So I don't want them to have to give me something every single week. But if they just once a month gave me a department update, then your Friday notes, you guys would say on the second week, I'd have the curriculum, whatever, boom, boom, boom. Or week 3, use the example of athletics. You hear, I'd give them that third week of each month. I want you all to give me a department update and just know, and this is going to be shared with the board, right? Finances, human resources, security and facilities. And then that way, you guys can kind of have some updates on how the departments are.
Does that help, board?
It does. I think one thing I just want to throw out there with it is if we can communicate to your staff, look, we don't want rosy updates. Like if there's a negative, we're not going to hold that against somebody. Like we just need to know it. Like we want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's the only way we can help.
Right.
That's
And what I can do is even set up the structure, right? So, you can say, hey, celebrations, everybody wants to celebrate.
Yeah.
Right? They want you guys to know the great things happen. So we gotta give them that chance, right?
Absolutely.
Celebrations, obstacles, and then, some plans or some things that they're looking to do that would hopefully be tied to some of the obstacles. So celebrations, I could say, hey, celebrations, what are some of your obstacles and challenges? And then what are some things that you're looking to do that may be different than what we've currently done in the past?
Yeah.
Would that work?
I'm thinking like, if something's going on, where if somebody's reporting test score updates to us, if they're low, just say they're low, okay, then what are we doing? Because again, that's not the person's fault that they're low, it's now what's the plan? We're all in this together. We're all trying to pull the same.
Well, that's as we talk about communication, that's communicating to the board that what we don't know.
And they should have that. I mean, I joke with the staff, and it's kind of morbid, but I say my vision would be I could walk across the street, get hit by a bus, and the district's going to keep on getting better because we have a team of people that are reflective, you're objective, and we're creating plans to improve based on what the needs are. If we get to that place, man, there's no stopping us. There's no stopping us.
And I said that because again, just bringing it up again, actually we got our exec session here, coming up here. But it's crucial, again, whoever we bring on as a number 2 person in the,
Be free to tell us.
in the sport, I mean, in the AD, because many of the board doesn't know, but we just lost, we didn't have but a little talent, on the football team, and we just lost that. The rest of it will go as soon as the basketball season is over with. And that bothers me, and I'm sure the other board members too, because no one wants to come to a 0-18. You know, that we can act like that's not a part of culture, but it is. Winning and losing is a part of culture. And so it's crucial as to, you know, who's in place to see whether or not they can carry this.
So why do we still have the coach?
Well, those things are crucial.
Okay, why?
Tony asked a question, which is, or Miss Wilson asked a question, which is crucial.
Because to me, from the conversations I had, that's the biggest root of our problem,
Well,
the coach.
Yeah.
He has no,
Be careful, we are still public.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't
It's not
take it
necessary.
out now.
It's not-
Don't just right now. But what I just, but Ms. Wilson, what I just stated and how I stated it, we can. In terms of, these are goals. What's our goal for this?
what kind of goals can we set to encourage the pipeline to grow? Does he have that in place? Is he
Well, we can
making
find
sure
out.
that our middle school and even our elementary, our 6th graders are gonna stay with Pike? And what are we doing to keep those,
Yeah.
our talent to stay with us? What plan does he have in place?
And that's stuff we should
Who's
know.
he presenting it to, and who's following up on it?
And that's stuff we can't know. We can't know that. It
you
wants
can't know this though,
administration-
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
You've lost thousands and thousands of dollars
Yes.
because of our sports program. Not to say it's bad, because, you know, I think when I say stuff like that, people think I'm being negative, but I'm not. I'm being real.
Yeah.
I'm just being real about it. You've lost thousands and thousands of dollars because of, we lost revenue.
And how can we come along as a board and support it? Those are the things that we want to know. How can we come along to help administration?
Because I want to see that piece for Dr.
Okay.
That he would never have to worry about it, if you know what I mean. If you got the revenue coming in, he should never have to worry about what my children don't have, if I can use that term. If it's stacked the right way, it would bring the revenue in. And they wouldn't have to have, they would have 3 jerseys like North Central and Warren and all them other places.
Well, how can we help support that?
Well, you gotta.
And that's the question.
You gotta be willing to change and be able to listen, whether you like it or not. There's some constructive and some good angles to it. You gotta look at it just the way it is. And say, well, this needs to be fixed. And I'm gonna say this, we have some great people in Pike that have graduated from Pike and have done some great things, but all good things don't come out of Pike.
No.
Sometimes you have to go outside of that
And pull it.
and pull it.
Yeah. Ms. Barnes is asking us to take a 10 minutes, so can we take a 10 minutes? Ms. Barnes just did this to me. Let's take 10 minutes, y'all, and we'll be back. But it looks like, Ms. Barnes, we done covered a lot of, so we may have we have to make up some time right here, because it looks like we done covered.
Yeah, because this part, you know, we can't do that.
Yeah, and then even my part here.
All the time.
With the goals.
Leading us through it.
Yeah.
I did not realize
But
that
that's
they already
the
made
portion
that.
that we're talking about.
Last year,
Did you get it from the guru of education?
Yeah, okay, okay.
You can get it from the icon, you can have
I got you. We don't speak. Tone, how you feel, Tone?
But you got it from the icon. This is education. I probably am.
But I have not asked her. She can tell me if I asked her.
Yeah, but you know, I think
Yeah.
What you all gonna have to do? Can I say? We do. We're training children. Children all over the place. We can talk about that. We talk about ours.
What am I talking about? No, you know what I'm talking
I
about.
just said, look at that.
No.
Yeah, well, but I'm not, yeah, I'm not part of it. I'm not part of it. I'm a part of helping children.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah, but that's it. It's not what it's on. It's what it's on. Barney, who is it?
So,
Did you have to put on, did you have to put the best part? Okay. See,
but at the same time, yeah, Dr. Eugene White,
Yeah.
he was our principal my senior year. He cared about that, but he also made sure he,
Had all the curriculum in there. But that's why he's not liked, because he's liked too.
so, but I'm like back to, let's talk about these
So you got
goals, specific, measurable.
Well, when you look at what you're looking at today, I mean,
No, all right.
that's why I'm sorry. This, the 13%.
Well, I'm saying,
How do you?
Yeah, so-
It's okay. You don't have to go. You get it right here. Just that.
no, I need to be, this is where we go.
No? You
Where I
got,
want you to be,
okay,
that
but-
specific
yes, but
percentage.
here it is right here. You got 13%. 13% from what?
What, right, that part.
Part right there.
But I'm like,
Last four, what we had, four.
but I've been saying that it's going on 6 years now, I said the same thing.
Well, you gotta understand, I said, oh, you're honest about it. You have to tell me what's what's this?
Got
Put it on what?
All right, you took it.
All right, Jones. It ain't changed.
No, but I said,
Okay.
6 years.
Mr. Vice, how you doing?
I'm all right, you all right, sir?
It is what it is.
No, it ain't, it can be better now.
I'm not saying, no,
Don't say it ain't.
I'm not saying, that's,
Go ahead and set up there.
Don't say that.
that's where we, that's the start.
We're going
And then we
to
go
swap it out
from
now.
here we are.
Yeah.
Where that fruit goes? That fruit on that?
It's right here.
No, 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 that one is, that fruit. What's some over there? Now, the strawberry comes out.
Yeah.
You
want a bowl?
You want to, we want to leave that.
Yeah, we can leave that.
I see, yeah.
I'm scared of, let's get it out. Ooh, my God, I'm scared. I can't wait, I got this one stuff with it. Ms. Wilson?
Oh, Lord. You think you want to He's right.
Well, you know, there's some people who do the bougie thing, they like coffee. You know, they like coffee after they eat, you know.
Right, let's leave the coffee out.
Okay.
Some of them are bougie, but, oh, yeah, no, man.
Here.
They're bougie, they do coffee thing, you know. I don't.
This weather?
Good to see you.
I killed you.
Well, yeah, I don't do
Just
that.
like keep it real.
I do, so what do you do?
Look,
Oh, right here.
that's fine. You know, this is the stuff I can have.
Of course.
Well, I think we'd be okay with lunch. Salad and soup. The soup is turkey, wild rice, and mushroom.
Okay.
I can get more hot water. Yeah.
Nancy hanging in there?
It's probably not.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Myself. I'm in my contact.
Okay, you're good.
Don't need to look at me.
No, you won't.
All right.
That
Thank
we
you
did
so
with
much.
that. Good conversation.
I want to leave it here.
You want that or you want that?
I can't leave it.
I want to leave it for lunch. That's fine.
Okay, cool. You gonna leave it? Yeah, we like that. Look, we like that.
And we're gonna leave the coffee too, in case people want. Yeah, and the hot water. So, Chef, will leave this hot water.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
You got for it, Brett? You always win on these. Rich, good? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. No, I didn't mean that in a defeatist
No,
way. I mean, we gotta reevaluate.
well,
We gotta reevaluate. And this,
some of us have missed it though. Ain't that him? I like him.
this is true.
It's just good to have him there.
And we just have to continue to push
Yeah, you gotta do that.
for our kids.
Yeah.
Now, where you mad at me? I wanna hear it.
Right here.
What you say? I can't hear you.
A service request for you. I was able to share our documents with everyone. Service request so that you can Google. Yeah.
I kept telling him I can't get it Google, I told him twice, I thought this is 6 months.
I just put that in, but
Thank you.
like that is unacceptable for me not to be able to share.
And I kept telling him, every time it says you have to check with your administrator, I was like, okay, I said,
Mine was like acting like that too, and I ended up having to come on the campus, log onto the network, restart my machine, and then
and you know what, because it just told me to use change my.
I gotta,
That might change my password, just.
I don't know.
So I'll try and see.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I just didn't want you to think I left you out on purpose. I did not.
What you think of this, I never really said it.
I was just
I
doing
can't
it
get left
right
out.
now.
Right,
I was
okay.
just doing it. So I got our buckets.
Yes, sir. Yes.
You know, I did fight something too, I just didn't rest.
Well,
We had to get your room.
I went to the doctor, and he said I wasn't contagious. Then after that, they gave me some antibiotics. That's what happened to me this morning. I was and my husband said, I'm gonna get the visa order. I said, what time is it? He said, 7:45. I'm like, oh, shoot. But anyway, what was beautiful about it is, you know, North Pike share the same student member.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
You know, our coach, yeah, they have 2 years at middle school, we went undefeated with her. And then the 2 years that she was at Pike.
You guys had a cup of coffee yet?
Hey, I do steak.
Beverage
I
of
do
choice.
steak.
If you can't get a steak out of me,
Where come, man?
no. Okay.
Look, he said, nah. Hey, you can get
Reverend, if
one.
you was drowning, I wouldn't even throw you the life preserver.
Wait a minute. What happened to Commandment 1 and 2? Oh my
See,
gosh,
you
wait
see,
a minute,
watch
wait a
it,
minute.
watch it. You see, I always have thought more of you than you thought of me.
Hey, check it out. But you didn't know that till I taught you that.
Hey, Mo, I got it from you.
That's right.
Yeah, I got it from
You
you.
got it.
But look, I'll throw you a lifeline though.
I can swim. I can swim.
I don't know the ins and outs. Why did they say?
Oh, boy.
You can't do what she comes from Pike Place.
So, Ms. Barnes, what you
And say, you know, have
Right
kind of
here.
award, need award for the our reward or festival or something that we can't, you know.
No, we can't.
Sportsmanship. And, you know, just that there's.
Did you all get your Pike, what's that foundation y'all?
We can't start early.
Y'all get your money?
Did we get our money?
I mean, you said you was raising some money for them, wasn't
So I'm putting together a basket like we did last year. For
Like
the
I did?
board. Yeah, you had yours last year, and then we had one with wine. I'm going more the track you did, so I'm putting together a bourbon basket for the board to go there. So if anybody wants to chip in
I
or do
have
their
people
own.
make a basket up for me.
Yeah. So I'm actually going this weekend to get the. I bought some things for it, going this weekend to finish it off. I bought some nice bourbon glasses for it. Miss Barnes had the idea for this thing that makes like clear ice balls to put in your drink, and so
Do a lot of drinking in Pike.
you gotta do something in that cold weather, right?
Oh, okay.
I took note last year of what brought in the biggest donations, and let's
Mine was
just
the
say
number
those
one.
were very popular. Yes,
Mine was number
those kinds
one.
were very popular, yeah.
We're not immune to the
There were plenty of other people doing
I try to
it.
do things in the most excellent way.
There you go, always, always.
I don't believe in giving people leftovers.
There you go, so.
If I choose you as a friend, I'll do everything I can to help
So, yeah.
What's under your thinking? But we haven't done
I can't even read this one signature, so I'm going with yours or one of the other guys. So I'm gonna give you a chance to sign this.
I've already signed.
You did sign that? Okay, that's you. All right, there we go.
still use this if you want.
That's what
We've got the buckets.
Well, that's good.
Except for Miss Wilson, because she's not important.
You sent it to her.
She's not in, so I can't share it.
There's a time when
And I just talked to her there, so she said, and he's put out to me.
get away, and they start, and you can't because
So this document is already given. But then this is because this is mentioning more specific, but
that's all I care about.
So what we talk about this. Because we right here with what we identified.
it'll be practice
Yeah.
for, I mean, maybe that's the intent.
Stood up.
Yes. So, for example, first, I will write on that paper.
Somebody else, there's somebody else.
No, he talked about those.
Right, so that they can prove their dues. And then,
And they still.
so hopefully they can.
So all of us can pick
Oh, right, this is.
I just feel.
Okay, so all of us to each of us.
Like, forget it.
Mr. Vice President, come here for a minute.
Is this, right? Somebody else already said, this, it's fine, you know, it doesn't matter, it's not.
Just like once we get to the place, I go back.
I just catch him like this. Just catch him like this. Oh, that bluegill, it's like, they go straight to the grease. Straight to the grease, boy. I don't throw stuff like that back. I'm telling you, man, I
Straight
say,
to the grease. Hey, is that in your spot? You don't throw nobody's about?
And then ask.
you know what, man, I have a friend. I got one friend. And my
I
dad,
just,
before
it
he
makes
passed,
I like it.
there was a lady, I can't remember where it was, she had a beautiful place in the pond on the lake. And she raised lobsters. She had a pond, it was storming. And my dad, he was supper boy, he didn't like bluegills. Yeah.
Just that's.
Raining, he was catching reddish and died. He sat out there when it was thundering and lightning. He sat in the car and watched it. Lightning was everywhere. He was just, week after I got to here.
Yeah, I do the same thing.
Then I had another, got another one in Melroy.
Oh, yeah. So I call
Melroy.
Oh,
Up
yeah.
towards Shelbyville. Okay. And man, you can see the basements. Oh, yeah.
See, I mean, when I see the little
Yeah,
nest,
it's gone.
now they do business nest,
I'll tell you what I did, I called him Blue Kill Street. And as I was bringing him in, bad.
bad shit, yeah. That's a 2-for-1 deal right
And I
there.
didn't have, and I'm fishing with 6-pound test line, but I got him in.
As soon as we get,
I was at
as soon as this weather breaks,
event, so,
we'll go out and find your spot.
You know what, man?
You keep that secret close to his heart on that one, boy.
You know what, man?
so we're in,
I didn't know Big Promise were in this, and they go quick to toxic.
Yeah, I've called him before. I've called him. And that old Acme building, across from that old Acme building.
Yeah, old boy, who you know, used to be with the coast.
Yeah.
He had a house off 79th Street, off Fox Hill.
Oh, he was up in there?
Yeah, back up in that cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And back up in that cul-de-sac, it's about 40 acres of water. And it's Eagle Creek. And houses are on that water. They were doing some remodeling on the house, right? And so I had a friend.
This was gonna.
He said, come on, go with me.
there was
I went
a
with
guy
him.
with a company drop players, big name
I was
sponsor
catching crop.
for,
And I was throwing no farther
Grand
here. I
Park. Now they have
Yeah, I'll do that.
would go in the morning, I'd go in the morning, about 10, fish till about noon, get me 25, then I go back.
They were watching, well, no,
Oh, yeah.
they may be watching the
Yeah, I know your freezer full, huh?
Let me tell you what happened. I had crappies through.
But it's still overtime.
Went out.
There was one both of them.
I lost 25 bags of crappie. I lost crab legs, all that stuff.
That crappie, that's some good eating. I eat that all day.
That crappie, man.
Straight to the grease.
But see, what I want to do, man, is go to Florida. I like how they, the big, how they fillet them. They do butterfly.
Exactly. Well, I ain't got that. My Florida is, best I got is Every Creek.
He's a,
I got a Florida fishing, I got that. I know. So what is it? Is it draining off or?
Well, they want to ship 25 million gallons a day a week to Lebanon.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the, because they're building a LEAP project, I forget what LEAP stands for. But it's basically the textile, I think, that's going up there. They're shipping, they're saying they'll ship it up, something will happen there, it'll be treated, and then it should be fine when it comes back down.
Yeah, but it's gonna come back down polluted.
But
It'll be within the standards. I know we're still alive, so I'm being careful. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody, we are being called back to our agenda in order. We have some things that we've already looked at this morning that was actually next ups for us, but due to the fact that we were going to wait until we get our work session, hear more from Dr. Young on the board goals, we're going to defer that part, give way to Ms. Barnes, and she'll take us down a practice moment. Come on, Ms. Barnes.
So can we start again?
Sorry, Miss Kelly yelling at her computer over here, just made me laugh, sorry.
It's
Mine's about to
okay.
restart too, I'm not ready.
All right, so just to be clear, here's what's changing. The written reflection, the share and listen, our goals, we just had our break. The goal template, the district goals, the debrief, all of that is what's changing. We're actually changing our agenda and tabling that until our work session. And that was an adjustment that we made. But Dr. Webster felt like it's important that at least go over the process. So then this is like a practice Then when we do get together at our work session, hopefully we'll be starting in a place of knowledge and experience as we develop our goals, since this is a slightly different process that we've used in the past. So all I'm doing is just walking us through. Please stop me if you've got questions. I want to make sure that everyone is clear on what the process is. So we're just going to walk through it as a practice run. That's all we're doing, it's just a little practice. So when we hear the data from Dr. Young coming up in our work session, the first thing we want to do is really just kind of have some private time to reflect on that, which is asking ourselves, what do our students need from us most? We all will see the same data, but that doesn't mean we see it the same way. And we want to make space to honor how each of us sees what we just found out. So that is what that time is for. And the second part is what is one outcome the board should monitor closely? Again, that is an individual response that we respectfully give to one another based on the data that we're going to see when Dr. Young presents this to us coming up here in February. After that, we'll share our written responses. No interruptions, no responses to the responses. It's literally just a time to get it out. And that makes a safe space for everyone to just say their piece and then move on. But then you get to at least hear everyone's perspective, and you can make notes if you want to. Then, if you take a look in your folder, you've got a paper that says a board goal template. So I'll give you a moment to get that out, and we'll talk about what that is. If you can't find it, let me know and I'll give you mine. Does anyone need more time? Okay. So this template is what we would complete on our own. So that way you have private time to really unpack and articulate for yourself, what do you think? What is the number one goal you think that we should have? So at the top, I give you space to write your focus area. If you think it's student learning, if you think it's well-being, if you think it's culture, equity, stewardship, I put et cetera because that's not all the things. It's just one of the things. It's just one. And then remember, we're one of 7. So don't feel like it's a competition. It's not. There are no winners or losers in this process. There are no winners, there are no losers. It's just coalition. It's coalition building. That's what we're doing. So after you figure out what area that you personally want to focus on, then you have your goal statement. And I gave you little sentence stems just to kind of help make the language part of it a little easier and more uniform. So the goal statement would be the board will ensure that, so you'd finish that statement, so that, and then you would finish the rest of the sentence. Then you would give us a sentence on why does that matter? You know, you want this to be a goal for us, why does that matter? The next part is how will we monitor, not manage, because we're not the managers. That's not our role to manage. That's a Dr. Young and his team. That's their job to manage. It's more how are we going to monitor now that we put this goal out there. So we'll put down what it is that we want to see so that we can make sure that it's happening. And then we can decide for ourselves, because this is your individual perspective, how often do you think we need to be checking up on this? Is it quarterly? Is it bi-monthly? Is it monthly, annually, something that's not there? You have a space to even put that in. And that's gonna help us then build a calendar to give to Dr. Young so that we can say, every 2 months, we need a report about this, because this is our goal and we need to see if we're getting there. So it helps him plan ahead to have that data prepared for us. And Mr. Anderson, you mentioned it earlier, time goes by, sometimes you forget. When we stick it on a calendar, we know it's coming. We know it's coming. And we're not overwhelmed because we're not looking for 7 goals. We're really just looking for 3 to 5, which is fine. 3 to 5 we can remember. 3 to 5 we can schedule. 3 to 5 we can get a work session or an executive session lined up on our calendar and monitor it and give it the kind of attention that it needs. Then at the very bottom, I put what this is not. And this is something here just to protect our boundaries, to make sure that we're not in spaces that we really shouldn't be in. So what it is not, it's not specific programs, it's not staffing decisions, it's not daily operations. That is not where we are. That's a Dr. Young situation. So that's why I put that at the very bottom, just as a reminder that to make sure that, yep, let me make sure I check. This is my self-check to make sure that the goal that I'm putting out for us to consider is one that's actually appropriate for what we're supposed to be doing. That was a whole lot of me and not very much of you. So let me pause and make sure that there aren't any questions about this part of the process. Yes.
How many goals are we looking at setting?
As a group,
Yes.
3 to 5
Okay.
makes the most
And I don't
sense.
know, you may have said that, and
That's okay. I'm happy to say it again. So 3 to
Okay, I thought
5,
I heard 3 to 5.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, okay.
3 to
I'm
5,
not
and there's
sure.
7 of us. But again, it's not, ooh, my goal won and your goal lost.
No.
It's not about winning or losing. It's about building coalition. Like we, as the 7 of us, agree on what we want these goals to be. It's not about, ooh, mine won and yours lost. Nope. There is no winning, there is no losing. It's just our children, period. It's just about our kids in this district. So there are no losers, there are no winners. Our kids are the winners. Good question. Is there
Great
another?
answer.
Yeah.
That's one of the first times I've really heard you single in on kids like that. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Are there any other questions about this part of the process? Yeah.
I think this sounds great, but we have so much information in these meetings sometimes, I think. Is there a possibility that we could start doing minutes? Because sometimes some things might get dropped, and we always refer back to some of the minutes. That might not be something that people think is necessary, but at least minutes on high points are real specific issues.
Yeah, definitely, and as your secretary, I'm happy to serve in that capacity. I already took notes on today. Ms. Wilson knows I'm trying to share it. I've already put in a tech request on her behalf because I cannot share the document with her right now. But everything that we've talked about so far, it's already shared with you if you look in your Google
Yeah.
Docs. Yeah,
I'm just making sure we understand it.
we have it.
I think in time past, and I was just verifying with Mr. Anderson, in time past with our board retreats, it was asked the same question about minutes, and some people just didn't want to commit to doing minutes, but sounds like you have done a good job already of doing that.
There's an app that handles that. You got that app?
If you're referring to the AI app that captures everyone's voices and words, I do not. But what I heard you say is you want something high level, not drilled down.
Yeah, and you can sift through,
decent.
if you had that app, you could sift through and pull out what you want. I'll donate the app for you if you want. If it's a cost to it, I will donate it to you.
I don't know that there's a cost to it. It's just a system.
Okay.
That's all. But yeah, I'm capturing what we're
Okay,
saying
great.
back.
Thank you so much.
I was just gonna say too, and I'm sorry. Okay, I was gonna say too, and I don't know her availability at all times, but I know Ms. Pepper does a great job.
Oh, yes.
If there's ever a time, there's a real topic that you guys really want to capture, I'll ask her. If I gave her enough notice, I would imagine she wouldn't mind
Okay.
helping out, if that's something.
Well, only because sometimes as a board, we try to concentrate ourselves. I think Ms. Barnes
Okay.
do a good job
Okay.
of capturing our notes.
Okay.
I want to, with this here, as we go along with this, two things. I don't know if we will have all this done today.
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay.
This is just practice, this is questions, this is us doing a slow walk.
Yeah, even with the practice part, because I think a lot of this, and this just goes back to the healthy and quality communication. A lot of this with the template is everyone getting a chance to give their interpretation of what it means to them, as far as, so I know we're practicing, but what it means to them, so that that way, when we get down to solidifying everything, it's gonna be, I think, it'd be a more quality product, that we're looking for.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Ultimately, when we do it, the plan was that you would write it, and I have some tape back there, and I was just gonna tape them up, and you could just take your time and read them. And just kind of take it in, like what are these 7? What are my board mates looking at? Then, after we did that, then Dr. Webster would look at what are the common threads among us. He's our leader. So he would look at all 7 and say, wow, this is something that's coming out of everybody. These common threads that we're seeing. And then lead us based on his deference through what do we see as our potential 3 to 5.
So you would make that a goal, based on what everybody shared?
Right, based on what everybody shared, 3 to 5 of them are
Yeah.
gonna move it on to the next level. And we would see that. I mean, it's not a secret. We're all reading them. We
Yeah.
probably all figured them out anyway, to see what are those common spaces among our 7.
And what I'm wondering, Ms. Barnes, also, after we get through hearing the presentation by superintendent, what I'm wondering is, can we get this done again? Not in the same work session, but this could be another work session. So we can stick them on the board, go to the gallery like you're saying. Because then we'll have some good information coming from the superintendent.
And I think one powerful piece is, once we hear it, then we'll know what kind of information can we get to follow it, to monitor it. Right now, it's like a report. Well, okay,
What does
that's
it mean?
really generic.
Yeah.
What does that mean? But once Dr. Young presents, he and his team, we could be real specific about exactly what is it that we're looking for in a way to monitor. Right now, it's very vague. Until we
Yeah.
get information, we really just don't know.
Technically, the district goals, the district goals ought to be in line with board goals.
Yes.
And so the district ought to carry out what the board has perceived as goals. And so that's going to be crucial, because, we know where we've fallen short at, and we want to right the wrong, and that way then if, we know what the goals are, and if we've seen that they're not being carried out district-wide, then we have a conversation.
Right.
I mean, would you agree, Dr. Young?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think anytime we combine between the board, the central office, the classroom,
Yeah.
it allows us to prioritize professional development,
Yeah.
allocate financial resources, professional development resources in an efficient way. Yeah.
Thank you. And you're absolutely right. So it's all about, we're the ones kind of setting the tone. We're the ones providing the guardrails. That's us. And then the district is trying to be within those guardrails, those goals that we've set for the district. But I think we're wise to wait for the data so that we can
Absolutely.
make good goals. Because we really, it shouldn't be based on rumor and emotion. It should be based on information. And that's really where we're heading. Then, once we do that, Dr. Young then gets a chance, of course, actually, let me back up a step. Once we agree, then we really ask ourselves, we give our goals a test. Is this student-centered? Is this ours to govern, not manage? Can we monitor progress? And if we say yes to all of those, then it stays. If we have a no to any parts of those, then that has to go. It's not a good goal. We haven't chosen a good one. We give Dr. Young a chance he's with us, to just kind of restate to us, what did you hear? And we align in that space. That goes back to Mr. Anderson's point about clear communication. And now we've got to set our calendar based on the goals that we've chosen on when we're expecting to hear updates, data about our specific goals. At the end, let me pause. Questions about that part? Because that's a self-check. That's a self-check for us. Okay. So then, armed with our goals, Dr. Young then sets to make our district goals in alignment with the goals that we have set as the board. In the end, sorry, questions on that one, Dr. Young?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then we end up, I had Mr. Anderson on here to do a plus delta. Plus is us kind of debriefing, what about the goal process did we like? What worked for us? And delta is the mathematical sign for change. So there really isn't a negative part of us making goals. Either it's worked for us or it's something we need to change. And so he would lead us through that, just for us to note what we like, what we want to change. So then if we do like something, great. If we want to change something, awesome. We're in a position to do that. We don't have to stick with this particular process. It's just that we needed to start somewhere. And this was a place that I intentionally felt like was a good place for us to start. Questions about this?
I don't have a question. Anybody have a question? I have a comment.
Sure.
It's, because it's 11:06 and we'll do lunch here coming up. We'll have a little extended time for lunch. But I do want to just make a comment to, especially to the officers that we worked on this so far. Now, we got an exec session coming up this afternoon, and you know, we'll just see how that play out. It should be smooth sailing like this morning. But I have sit here and really appreciated the format of this morning's work session part, and then the information that have come out, and then where we're heading. I think it's been great. Thank you, Ms. Barnes, for your expertise, Mr. Anderson for yours, and then the entire board for your input this morning. I just want to make that observation.
Any other comments? Just want to make sure we're smooth sailing. So just to be clear, we'll walk into this process after we get the data from Dr. Young. But you have it. We're not planning, as officers, we're not planning on changing it. You've got lots of time to process this, so that when you hear the information from Dr. Young, we should be able to pretty smoothly go through this.
And what I'll do is just ask Janine to schedule the exec session posting for us, and we'll just make it an exec session instead of a work session.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. Okay, y'all, I think that leads us, anybody else with anything, because that leads us to lunch. Dr. Young, any closing for you other than lunch?
No, I mean, I would just echo what you shared.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I would just echo what you shared, Dr. Webster. Thank you to the board for inviting me to the retreat, and the organization's been great. I appreciate the feedback. I appreciate the direction and guidance. And I'm just excited, you know, about the challenges that we've talked about. But I think, you know, we are looking to be very strategic in how we are going to tackle those challenges that all school districts will face. And I think Pike will ultimately, because we always just find a way, are going to provide an excellent, equitable learning opportunity, you know, for our kids. And that's the goal of everyone in this room and the other 1,600 employees, as well as our students and our families. Pike, one of the things I love about Pike, I know I'm biased, born and raised here, is I don't care what anyone says or believes about Pike. Pike is a place that there's a community of people that value education, period. I don't care if you talk about business owners, I don't care if you talk about grandparents, parents-to-be, graduates of Pike High School. This is a community that values education, and we have found ways in turbulent times, and we're facing some, and I think we're going to face more in the future to figure it out because our kids deserve it. So just thank you all to the board for your leadership. And you,
Dr. Young, you talked a
Yes.
little bit about, or you mentioned a little bit about, you mentioned your Friday notes.
Yes, sir.
Your two speaking engagements. Can you just tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
About the, can you ask that one more time?
You mentioned to us in the Friday notes
Yeah.
about, I think you're going to Ohio.
Oh, yeah.
For a speaking engagement. I think you may have one more. Just talk to the board just a
Sure.
little bit about what that means to you.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. Webster. So one of the things that I believed was going to happen, and I was correct, when I assumed the role of superintendent and was given that opportunity, was that I was going to get pulled on every single direction. That people were going to say, you should be part of this committee, you should serve on this board, you should be at this meeting. And guess what happened? Absolutely. And I made up my mind, even before you know, the board approving that position, that I was going to get very comfortable in saying no. There were needs and things that had to happen at Pike. The board hired me to take care of this community for our students and our families. And not that I wasn't going to look at how we can help the field of education in our local community, our state, and nationally. I just knew I had a job to do and get things in place before I ever stepped foot out of Pike Township. And with the support, guidance of the board, all of our employees, I think we've got some good foundational things in place. All of us love Pike, but we're also passionate about education. And we know that the things that we're struggling with in Indianapolis, man, it's happening across the country. So now that we have some things that we've done that have had success, and we haven't hit the mark by any stretch of the imagination, but our district is headed the right way. You know, as we look at our goals, every year we've hit those goals, and they've been based on making improvement. And you guys recall, I can remember stepping into this position, we had teachers picketing right out here on this corner. We had contentious bargaining. We just got out of contentious bargaining session. Since then, we've heard the PTA acknowledge the board and the leadership for record pay increases. It's difficult, but man, we have some beautiful facilities. And so we've done some things, achievement. We've done some things, attendance. So we did a study. And for many of you that were here during that time, the demographic study suggested that our enrollment was going to decline unless we did some things different. And I think I shared with the board, out of 11 school districts, and there's one that didn't count because they opened up an online school, and they inherited about several students that way. But it was Franklin Township, that they have a bunch of fields and they're developing new housing communities. And then there was Pike Township. So I think this is maybe our second year where we're not a whole lot of development, that our enrollment has actually increased. And I believe that there have been practices and things that we have done that have helped in all of these areas. So now, I say all that to say, Now, I'm finally at a point where when people say, will you come out and just talk about what you're doing, that I feel comfortable in saying that. We've got to, part of what, I wanted to really get done those first couple of years was to get a team in place that I could step away and come back and the district's better than it was when I left. And I think we've got a structure in place now that I can begin to say yes and be a little more visible in the community, share some celebrations and things were happening. To be quite honest, when I first stepped in this role, a lot of folks said, man, get out and start talking about all the way. And I said, well, let's focus on getting some things to talk about first. And I think we're now at that place. So I was invited to be a panelist at the Midwest NAPSI conference, and it's in Columbus, Ohio. So I will attend that, and we'll keep you all obviously abreast of other opportunities to kind of share about some things that we're doing tonight.
Okay, thank you. I just want the rest of the board to kind of hear, I think that we ought to always give way to our leadership that is ascending, and especially getting the chance to tell the Pike story.
Yep.
So we think that that's crucial, and that's some important. So thank you for that. All right, y'all, we are on lunch now, and we have, looks like until 12:15 before we get started up again. And so, Dr. Young, you can grab lunch, just hang around. 12:15, we'll get started with our exec session. You can be dismissed after lunch, or before lunch, or you can feel free to go now.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.